radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Welcome, Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Tuesday, February 27th, 2018. And 58 days into the new year, just 307 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? All right. Very special day around here. I'll get to that in just a minute. But tonight, we have our very special guest, Billy Carson, is with us. That's right. Forbidden knowledge comes to Fade to Black, and it's about time. 4 years. Man, 5 years. Been waiting for Billy, but we got him tonight. And we're going to discuss his new book, Compendium of the Everald Tablets. Yeah, it's a full Thoth night here on Fade to Black. This book gives a unique insight into the understanding of the content that was authored by Thoth over 36,000 years ago. So that's tonight. Tomorrow night is my AMA, or Ask Me Anything, and that will be simulcast on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube, all live streaming, as well as all of our syndication and networks. So everything is going to be normal, except we're going to head out onto Periscope and Facebook and YouTube all at the same time. And certainly, you can do just that. You can ask me anything. All of the questions I'm not going to do anything via email. I want all of the questions to be posted live during the AMA. Okay? Now, we did the announcement of the AMA, and people have already posted comments in there or questions. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. No, it's going to be all live tomorrow night, my AMA. Really looking forward to that. Ask me whatever you want. You can ask me about those guitars. What kind of strings are on those? Those guitars over there, you could do that. No, the paintings. No. You know what? It's called Ask Me Anything. That's what you do. You just ask me anything. That'll be tomorrow night. Thursday night is another Fader night. Open lines all night long with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom live. And the call-in numbers are 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. You can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I decided tonight, right before showtime, to broadcast this out on YouTube as well. So hello to everybody out there. And I did it because tonight with Billy Carson, it's going to be an important show. And I want the live aspect of this and the information that's going to be coming out of the show tonight, just to get the widest possible live audience reach. Okay, so hello to everybody out there on YouTube tonight. Okay, we're also going to do it, live tomorrow night. And then there'll be Thursday night. I wanted YouTube to be out there maybe, a couple of times a year just to have these, have it fun. I didn't realize we'd be doing like every day in a week, but there you go. Hello to everybody out there on YouTube. Okay, now, hashtag F2B is the sandbox right here on Twitter. Yeah, big no-no in audio in radio is to take a hit of coffee. We had, River Moon Coffee. We had an amazing day today. And and we knew this was coming, but it happened today. And so Rita and I want to tell all of you that our family welcomed Lori Angie Kamurian to this world. Our niece and nephew, Kevin and Diana, are the newest parents, and she was born today at 11:30 a.m., just as Rita and I arrived in the waiting room. And I'm not joking about that. We stepped off the elevator, and at that moment, everybody started cheering. So I knew that everything was good. But it was perfect timing. I would have really been bummed if we missed it, and that's the point. But we were there. Our whole family was there. And it is just so wonderful when something so special happens with a family, and we've been very, very, very blessed. And our family is big and growing. We've had three members added in the last, Rita, help me out here, last 5 years. I mean, we're just cranking them out, man. And it's so special. What a great, great, great day. And to see the grandparents and the great-grandparents, it is so special to them. So there you go. All right. Now, here's the deal. Our whole family was there. 4 years, Rita just said. Yeah, the last 4 years, three beautiful, beautiful girls. So, but tonight, after the show, I think you know the drill, okay? You know Rita and I and our family well enough. The party will continue here in Burbank. So if you're driving through the Burbank Hills and you hear some loud shenanigans, it's us. And we're proud of it. We are very, very happy. And 6-pound, 9-ounce Lori is the reason, and she's beautiful. So I would give you the other updates. We were just laughing before the show. Everything is working. Everything is good. Everything is healthy. Okay? Just amazing. Okay. Welcome. Happy birthday to Lori Angie Kamurian. In other news, breaking right before the show, today, 11 people became ill at a U.S. military base in Arlington, Virginia, next to the Pentagon, after opening a suspicious letter. Some are calling it a package. 3 were taken to the hospital after a hazardous material situation was officially declared. The Arlington Fire Department responded to a hazardous material call at the Joint Base Meyer-Henderson Hall at 4:30 p.m. local time. Fire crews and hazmat units rushed to the scene. 3 people were taken to the hospital and are currently in stable condition. At least 5 people were displaying symptoms such as nosebleeds, and itching after coming in contact with the substance, and the roads leading to the base have been sealed by the police. So this is breaking news. It is fluid, and if I get an update during the show, I will share that with you. Now, the E-City Roadshow. We were talking about this last night with Ashley. The E-City Roadshow is continuing here in California. It will be heading up the coast and ending in Washington over the month. And so now you can click on the banner. Oh, it's going to go into March, of course. When I say, today's the 27th. Click on the banner over at jimmychurchradio.com and you can get their schedule and details. Tomorrow night, they are going to be in Malibu, if you so wish and you want to attend it, you do have to go and register, and the banner is over at jimmychurchradio.com. Our next event will be June 1st through the 4th, 2018. We'll be at Contact in the Desert, right here in Southern California in Indian Wells, Palm Springs at the Renaissance Resort and Spa. Now, it's a full weekend of events, and just click on the Contact in the Desert banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. You can go look at the schedule, get your early bird special pricing on tickets, and plan your weekend out. It is going to be, for us and all of the Fadernauts, we have events and everything scheduled for all 3 nights. The first night, Friday, we'll be broadcasting live. Fade to Black, we do that every year there. Plan on attending. It's going to be packed. I think the room that we are in this year seats about 200, and that's going to be, standing room only, but that'll be Friday night. Saturday night, we have an award ceremony. I'll be hosting all weekend long. George Norrie is hosting the awards, and we do have a Fade to Black table there, and information will be up on their website about how to possibly get a seat at that table. So anyway, we have events all weekend. And then Sunday, of course, I'll be doing the closing panel on Sunday night that I do every year there. And my panel this year is Corey Good, Michael Tellinger, Richard Dolan, James Gilliland, Jeremy Lockyer Corbell, and Brad Olson. So that's, man, I did that by memory. That's pretty good. And that'll be Sunday night. Okay? All right. And then, of course, coming up right after that in August is our Soul Tech Gathering up at ECETI Ranch. We were talking about that last night on the show. And the tickets and info are over at soultechgathering.com. I want to remind everybody about one specific thing with the Soul Tech Gathering. We are only selling 300 tickets. 100 are gone. Okay, so we're a third of the way through. There's only 200 tickets left, and it's going to sell out. It's going to sell out soon. I just don't want anybody to be disappointed. If you really plan on attending, get your tickets now and start making your arrangements. That's going to be one of the coolest weekends of the year, and it is at ECETI Ranch. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We have over 800 archive shows. Click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. It's just $2 a month, and it helps support the show. You get Apple and Android apps. I think there's a Kindle app and other apps. Whatever you need is right there, either in the Apple Store or in the Google Store, iTunes, and it's simple to download, and it's just $2 a month. Okay, and it's it's updated every single day right after the live broadcast. You can also become a Fadernaut over in our membership section on the site, where you can get the bunker cam, right, that everybody is watching right now, commercial-free downloadable archives. You can even get autographed hats and T-shirts, and you get an email to me. And if you are renewing your subscription for the Game Changer, for all of those that renew their subscription, we've got a new T-shirt that we'll be shipping. So now you'll have 2 Fade to Black T-shirts, right? Okay, and we have a new hat. So there you go. Autographed. Pretty cool. All right, it's humbling, but thank you for the support. You can check out all of our sponsors: Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, River Moon Coffee, New Pharma, Ancient Life Oil, Sacred Skulls, Numana Food Storage, and Bearing Optics. Numana Food Storage, their special, the Jimmy 10 special, will be expiring, I think tomorrow night. Is that the end of the month? February, right? 28 days? Am I right on that? Somebody help me out here. That Jimmy 10 special, promo code Jimmy and the number 10, Jimmy 10, gets you free shipping, 10% off, autographed T-shirt, peace of mind, made in America, best emergency food that you can buy. There you go. It's the best deal on the net, and that's it. It's over tomorrow night. I think it is. Somebody help me out. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but that's right? I always get confused with that. There you go. All right, new Manna Food Storage. Promo code Jimmy10. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday today. Well, it's our dead guy's birthday today. To Elizabeth Taylor, 1932 to 2011. Died at the age of 79. But I still think that Cleopatra is one of the greatest films ever made. Seriously. I do. It's a great film. All 25 hours of it. All right. Just an amazing film. Huge production. And they wanted to make sure that that film was perfect in every detail. I really enjoy Cleopatra. She hung out with Michael Jackson, right? She owned the 33-carat Krupp diamond. Elizabeth Taylor lived the life. 7 husbands. She married, divorced, and remarried Richard Burton in like a span of like 10 years. Sprinkled some other husbands in the middle of that. And there you go. She lived it like she wanted to. Happy birthday to Elizabeth Taylor. All right. On this day in history, this is a special day. I talk about this day a lot. Disco sucks, right? On this day in 1980, and I'm almost embarrassed to say that I had a Disco Sucks t-shirt. You know, I got all sucked up into that. But 1980, it went down. Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive wins the first and last Grammy ever awarded for Best Disco Recording. That's right. They only had it 1 year, 1980. After that, the Disco Sucks campaign took over. And the next year, 1981, the Grammys removed the disco category for the Grammy Awards. And this is what's really interesting. Listen to this. These were the other songs that were nominated that year. Earth, Wind, and Fire for Boogie Wonderland. What an amazing song. Michael Jackson for Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. Rod Stewart for Do You Think I'm Sexy. And Donna Summer for Bad Girls. All amazing, just amazing songs. And that's man, this country just got sucked up and wrapped up into it, man. Disco sucks. And we love disco today. There you go. Fate or fact. The only difference between fog and mist is visibility. And that's it. They are the same thing. If you can't see more than 100 meters ahead, it's fog. If not, it's mist. And that is a fate or fact. Tonight, very special guest Billy Carson is here. That's right. Forbidden knowledge comes to Fade to Black. Tomorrow night is my AMA, or Ask Me Anything. We're going to simulcast on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube. Thursday night, Fader Night with John Rappaport. Open lines all night long. He'll be here with his No More Fake Newsroom Live. Okay. Now, do you remember all of the excitement around Proxima Centauri and its planet, Proxima b? You remember that? The latest exoplanet that was discovered at that time last year, and also our nearest exoplanet, because Proxima Centauri is our nearest star. It's 4 light years away. It is the closest star to planet Earth. A lot of excitement behind Proxima b because it was in the Goldilocks zone, right? And how exciting would it be to have a planet that close to us that maybe we could live on one day and visit, but that it might support alien life? It was the right age. It was perfect, right? Well, a team of astronomers led by Carnegie's Meredith McGregor and Alicia Weinberger detected a massive stellar flare, an energetic explosion of radiation, from the closest star to our sun, Proxima Centauri, which occurred last March. Now listen to this. The finding, published in the Astrophysical Journal Letters, raises questions about the habitability of our solar system's nearest exoplanetary neighbor, Proxima b, which orbits Proxima Centauri. Now, McGregor and Weinberger and their colleagues, the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, David Wilner and Adam Kowalski, and a third, Stephen Cranmer, of the University of Colorado Boulder, discovered the enormous flare when they reanalyzed observations taken last year by the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array, or ALMA, a radio telescope made up of 66 antennae. At peak luminosity, it was 10 times brighter than our sun's largest flare on its worst day. Are you listening to me? Stellar flares have not been well studied at wavelengths detected by ALMA, especially around stars of Proxima Centauri's type called M-dwarfs, which are the most common in our galaxy. It happened on March 24th. And March 24th, 2017 was no ordinary day for Proxima Centauri. Seriously. The flare increased Proxima Centauri's brightness by 1,000 times over 10 seconds. Yeah. This was preceded by a smaller flare, which was also ginormous, and taken together, the whole event lasted fewer than 2 minutes of the 10 hours that the ALMA observed the star between January and March of last year. Stellar flares happen when a shift in the star's magnetic field accelerates electrons to speeds approaching that of the speed of light. The accelerated electrons interact with the highly charged plasma that makes up most of the star, and then it causes an eruption that produces emissions across the entire electromagnetic spectrum. In other words, it's a gnarly radiation blast. It's likely that Proxima b was blasted by high-energy radiation during this flare over the billions of years since Proxima b formed. Flares like this would have evaporated the atmosphere. It would have evaporated an ocean. It would have sterilized the surface, suggesting that the habitability may involve more than just being the right distance from the host star to have liquid water. Right? And that's what gets us excited. Get in the Goldilocks zone, the right temperature, like Earth, and the stars the right age, and maybe there's water. Water is life. Not when you're getting a solar flare that covers the entire electromagnetic wavelength. A November paper that was also used, the ALMA data, interpreted its average brightness, which included the light output of both the star and the flare together, as being caused by multiple disks of dust encircling Proxima Centauri, not unlike our own solar system where we have the asteroid and the Kuiper belts. Now, the authors of that study said that the presence of dust pointed to the existence of more planets or planetary bodies in the stellar system, and we were excited about this. But when McGregor and Weinberger and their team looked at the ALMA data as a function of observing time, instead of averaging it all together, they were able to see the transient explosion of radiation emitted from Proxima Centauri for what it truly was, which is this. There is now no reason to think that there is a substantial amount of dust around Proxima Centauri, nor is there any information yet that indicates the star has a rich planetary system like ours. Now, this is the fact. Nothing is living on Proxima b. Nothing. At least not on its surface. And if there was anything, it's now burnt to a crisp. Seriously, it's toast. There is nothing there. Imagine for a second, just for a second, if our sun suddenly ignited like that. And everything in the electromagnetic universe blasted us like that for 10 seconds. Atmosphere, everything that you see is gone in an instant. Everything on this planet is cooked completely. Everything that you see, every forest, gone. All the oceans, gone. Everything that is left is black. And that's it. And 10 seconds later, right? 10 seconds later, no atmosphere, right? 10 seconds later, it's just this black rock. Think about that for a second. It's crazy, isn't it? It kind of reminds you of possibly what happened to Mars. Could that be it? But the point is very, very simple. There is nothing living on Proxima B. We were excited. There isn't even a reason to visit. There's no reason to even look. And for them to look at the data and say, we've checked it out again, and we want to kind of reassess this a little bit. There's nothing there. There is nothing there at all. All right. So the excitement was good, though, for a moment, right? Proxima Centauri, Proxima B, Goldilocks planet. It's all good. And then 1 year ago, March of last year, the planet was incinerated. All right. So tonight, my favorite subject, Egypt. My even more favorite subject, Thoth. We have discussed Thoth many nights on this show. Many nights. We've never done a full evening. The Everald Tablets is something that I have not only read, studied, wondered about, but here's the fascinating thing. If you choose to go and research the Everald Tablets, you find out something very, very quick. The information out there is sparse. The real good information is really tough to find. Tonight, Billy Carson is here. Forbidden Knowledge, all of his network that he has put together. Forbidden Knowledge is one of the not only repositories of knowledge, but he does his research correct. All of his TV shows are amazing to see. He's just a great researcher. But I can think of none better to jump into the Everald Tablets than Billy Carson. And we've got him here for the duration of the show tonight. So kick back, relax. Welcome to everybody that's out there live, enjoying the feed. And I'll be right back with our guest, Billy Carson. You can follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. You can follow Billy on Twitter at 4 Forbidden Knowledge. We've got everything up right now in the feed. And if you have any questions or comments, use hashtag F2BQ. The sandbox is hashtag F2B. I'll be right back with Billy Carson. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Natural Health Solutions with Chris and Ronnie.
Hey, Ronnie, how you doing?
Great, Chris.
Now, you're the CEO of GetTheTea.com, right?
Yes, I am.
What is GetTheTea.com? I mean, is this tea you buy in a store?
Well, no, it's not. Life Change Tea is just that. Life-changing. Life Change Tea is an herbal tea that gently cleanses your body from intruders.
What do you mean by intruders?
Well, intruders are toxins, chemicals, GMOs, heavy metals, and more. They're in our food, in our water, in our air we breathe.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
And Life Change Tea will help you with removing these, as you say, intruders?
That's right, Chris.
Are there side effects with this tea?
Well, you might lose a little weight. When you clean your colon, you lose weight, you feel better, and you have more energy.
Wow. Ronnie, where can people purchase Life Change Tea?
Oh, that's easy. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
Ronnie, I want to thank you for being on the show. People, don't forget, GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Billy at the number 4, Bidden Knowledge on Twitter. We've got the links up in the feed right now. Want to remind everybody, tomorrow night is my AMA, or Ask Me Anything. It's a simulcast. We're going to live feed on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube, as well as the rest of our network affiliates. And that's going to be pretty exciting and fun. I can't wait to do that with everybody. Thursday night is another Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by Open Lines all night long. But tonight, it's Billy Carson. He's the founder of Forbidden Knowledge and is the host on the new Gaia series, Deep Space, about the secret space program, the SSP. The series is an exploration of the secret space program and the types of technologies being used along with their potential origins. He's also the host on Gaia's original series, Ancient Civilizations, and he has combined forces with the top anomaly hunters in the world to form the United Family of Anomaly Hunters, or UFA. Their mission is to provide enough evidence of past and present life on Earth and other celestial bodies inside our own solar system of technologies being used with their potential origins, and the group has pioneered 2 new fields of science, archaeoastronomy and astroanthropology. He's also the CEO of First Class Space Agency, based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Carson's space agency is involved in research and development of alternative propulsion systems and zero-point energy devices. But tonight, we're going to discuss his new book, Compendium of the Everald Tablets. That's right, we're going to do Thoth all night tonight. The book gives unique insight and understanding of the content that was authored by Thoth over 36,000 years ago. And I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, I don't know why, Billy Carson. Why do we wait 4 years, Billy?
I don't know, man, but the universe has everything in its own time and its own plan, and I'm just glad to be here, and I'm very excited that now is the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. And this is the cool thing. You get the first time guest disclaimer. So let me get that out of the way, which is this. It's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends. But we're going to end as friends. You ready?
So I'm ready, man. Let's go.
Let's do this. Now, with you, now we're going to talk about Thoth tonight. And we're going to get into that and have a lot of fun. And I'm excited about that. But there's another side to you. And when you call your organization and your presence forbidden knowledge, that is all encompassing. That's everything, right? That's everything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty much everything, man. It's an accumulation of a lot of suppressed information. It's not banned knowledge where it's information that's considered maybe completely top secret or inaccessible. But forbidden knowledge is extremely suppressed information, hard to find content, kind of like the Everald Tablets you were talking about earlier, kind of hard to put it all together because there's very sparse information out there. And there's a lot of topics like that out there. And so what I try to do is I try to go out there and grab information from a lot of different places and sources and try to build a puzzle, try to put the pieces of the puzzle together so we can all have some type of a picture of what's really going on out there.
And what I find amazing is the community that you have built is pretty big. And that's no joke. And a lot like Fade to Black or Coast to Coast or Gaia, these different communities that are putting this information out, which you're part of all of those communities. It is huge and growing, and it just shows you, doesn't it, that there are so many out there that want answers to these questions. We're no longer fringe, right? We're the status quo now.
Absolutely, man. It's so good to see. I mean, I remember starting my research literally back in 1977. And that's going and pulling down Encyclopedia Britannicas off the school shelf at Rainbow Park Elementary in Opelika, Florida, because I had saw what I thought was a UFO in my backyard, and I didn't know what that was or what it possibly could be. So I started researching. From that point, literally, is when I started my research. But it was so hard to talk to anybody about. Everything had to be done in secret. I would meet with friends in private, just a few handful of guys, and we would trade information back and forth. And then, but you would still be laughed at if you would bring this up to anybody in a regular conversation, going on many years, from VHS tapes to CDs to cassette tapes to DVD exchanges, and then to web forums and websites, blogs, and now social media. It's been a long road to get to the point now where I can just go to a restaurant and hear people talking about conspiracies and aliens openly. It's like, wow, this is such a breath of fresh air.
When you look back, I mean, there was a day, and you can laugh if you want. If you look back, you remember when you had your first follower, right? Your first subscriber.
Right.
And do you sit back now and go, how the heck did I get here?
Yeah, I do sometimes. I mean, the other day I spent about 15 minutes scrolling just on the Instagram account, all the way back to the very first one that I posted, which was an elongated skull from Peru. And I had 3 likes on it. And, so and I remember saying to myself, I don't know why I'm still trying to, put this information out, because I had tried so many different ways of getting information out, and everything seemed like it just wasn't taking off,
Right.
And then I said, I'm going to try this Instagram and Facebook thing and try it that way instead of using websites, because the websites were getting attacked and pinged down and so forth. And I just kept with it. And there were days where I would get 9 likes on a picture or a post, and I would go, okay, now I'll like it myself so I can have 10 so all the names can go away. And it looks like, there's some activity going on.
Now, this is what's crazy for the audience. Most of our audience knows about your social media activity and the size of your audience. But for those that don't know what we're talking about, how many Facebook followers on the Forbidden Knowledge page?
On Facebook for Forbidden Knowledge is 560,000.
560,000. Yeah. That's incredible. Instagram.
Instagram is 724,000. And then I have Facebook groups that have 75 to 100,000 in each group, and there's multiple groups of those. and I also have about 20 Facebook pages. So I'm just giving you the forbidden knowledge account. I got kind of sub pages in different categories. Altogether, it's close to 3 million people.
How did you get here, right? and that's incredible. And we do the same thing here with us. And if you because you look at all of the individual, groups and things and networks, and then we add everything together and we come up with these crazy numbers. Yeah. And we have to pinch ourselves. We're very thankful. You didn't do it with advertising. It's organically grown, and we've done the same thing. And you look at, like the coast to coast numbers or the Gaia numbers, which again, I want everybody to know that, Billy's part of all of these communities. And you look at this, and we are talking about millions and millions of people.
Yes, sir. We are touching a percentage of the world every single day.
Now,
it's amazing.
Yeah, and so congratulations on that for fighting the good fight. It's not easy, and this is when somebody comes up to you, then we'll jump into Thoth. But I just have to go host to host here and ask you a couple of questions that
problem,
I know you'll enjoy. When somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, man," and think about how many times this has happened. So give me the generic answer. But people go, "Hey, man, I want to start a Facebook group. How long does it take to get 500,000? Is it easy?" Right?
Yeah, they always that man. I get that so many times, and I'm like, just jump on it and get started. I've been doing this since for 2010, just on social media, trying to get it going. And it's 2017 now, whatever year it is at the time that they ask. But I say, just jump in and start trying to, accumulate some good quality content and put some information out there and, see where it takes you. But it's going to take a lot of effort and also money. I mean, I've spent money not on getting marketing, but on doing things like hosting my own video network and making a mobile app, just all different types of ways to generate more organic traffic. It's not just something you just, wake up and do it. And the content's got to be very solid and sound. It's got to be. I was the very first person on Instagram posting the whole 2,200 characters of content you could post underneath an image. And people were like, "How'd you put that much information underneath the picture?" I said, "Well, I just kept typing until it told me to stop."
And that's they think that it's easy. And it's not. It is a 24-hour day, 7-day a week commitment, and you can't stop. You can't take a day off. You just can't.
Man, you know it. Oh my God.
That's just the way it is. And again, congratulations. Your presence is phenomenal. Now this is let's jump into Thoth. You and I were talking earlier, and I mentioned this in the show opener. When it comes to Thoth, if you choose to research it, because it's a fascinating subject, Thoth, and just in of himself, being one of the original gods in Egypt is great. But even researching the written history from Egypt, the documented stuff, it's hard to get that information. And then when you go beyond that and get into the Everald Tablets, and you're jumping back to maybe Lemuria or Atlantis and 36,000 years and that history, it gets thinner and thinner. So you chose to research this. It's difficult, isn't it?
Oh, very difficult, man. It's the first time reading them and going through them, it was amazing just knowing that this could potentially be something that really is this old, because the quantum physics in there and the alchemy in there is stupendous. I mean, it's off the charts, and I'm going, man, this is really, high tech stuff. If you really delve into it, I really wonder if we can figure out if we can document, as much as possible to add credibility to this record. And that's what started me on my path to researching the Everald Tablets.
Now, okay, so let's start with the basics. What are the Everald Tablets of Thoth?
The Everald Tablets are an actual written epic by Thoth himself. In other words, he's the one who actually authored these tablets. They're written in ancient Atlantean, according to Doriel and many others, Isaac Newton and many others that have translated them. And they're 10 actual tablets, but they were broken down in the writings into 15. But there were actually 10 tablets of emerald green. Their structure is atomically fixed, so that no change really ever takes place in the structure of the tablets themselves. And they are, according to what I've researched so far, one of the main source for all religions, everything from Christianity to all the Abrahamic religions, Jewish religion, everything stems from this source, from these tablets. Everything, literally all the stories, even the Great Flood is in the opening tablet. So It's an amazing source of information.
Now, they're called the Emerald Tablets because they're green, but they're not made of emerald.
No, they're not made of emerald, but I believe that they're most likely 8-sided because Thoth is the god of 8. So they're most likely 8-sided, giving them that title Emerald Tablets, because most emerald stones are 8-sided or octal stones.
Right.
And I believe that's why they call them the Emerald Tablets.
When did they first appear in history? Who was the first to talk about them?
The very first person to talk about them was, I believe it was Philip of Tripoli in 683 AD. And he actually translated the Emerald Tablets. And it was also translated as well by Sir Isaac Newton, and that was also close to that. And I'm sorry, that was in the 1200s. So you have two different sources here going way back into the early, part of this century, and the early part of this time frame that we're in right now. And it's hard to go back much further than that. Everybody else that has translated kind of came a little bit after that,
right?
Or up until 1925 was the most recent one that we have, with a lot of information from Dr. Michael Doreal, who was given permission from the White Lodge, from the actual pyramid priesthood, to not only decipher them or write about them, but also to return them back to Egypt.
Now let's talk about that before we get to content and the history and going back 36,000 years. Where are they today?
Today, I personally believe there's two places that the actual tablets themselves can be. I know where some of the writings are, but the tablets themselves most likely are in two places. One place in the Emerald Tablets, Thoth talks about hiding them inside the Great Pyramid. Inside of this chamber. Now, that chamber, if they were really returned to that chamber, might be the chamber that was just recently discovered about 6 or 7 months ago above the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid.
That's right.
Through that muon scan. It's pretty much almost an exact description of where Thoth says that he would hid the secret records.
And the second place?
The second place would be the Vatican archives, the 50 miles of Vatican archives, which are well documented. Everybody knows they're there, and some limited people have had access to go down there for short periods of time. So they are real. Vatican archives, they know how to get their hands, and they have the money to get their hands on a lot of things and archive this content and information to keep it away from the general population.
Wouldn't it be exciting if they were in this new chamber that was just discovered, right?
Oh, man. Yes, right? Absolutely.
Game changer, right? All bets are off at that point. But I have a funny feeling that they've already been inside that chamber. If there if there was anything in there, it's gone, right? Yeah. I don't want it to be that way. But I just have this funny feeling it ain't that easy, right?
Everything that they find over there, by the time they tell us about it, they've already gone through it all. It's probably considered some type of a military level, operation, to where they want to make sure it's not going to be a threat against any type of national security or global security or UN security or whatever. And they most likely sweep these things clean and then give, let's say, okay, you could tell the public this is what you can say, or this or that is what you can say, and that's why you have people like Zahi Hawass that are kind of like, I hate to use the term puppet, but he's almost like a puppet. He takes information from the powers that be and he feeds it to the general population, and most of it's not accurate.
Yeah, there's no question about the narrative that has been written, the dogma that has been accepted and fed to us about Egypt and our very own history is so ingrained that if something came along like the Emerald Tablets, if something was inside that new chamber that would indeed, just like Göbekli Tepe, right? That would indeed just rewrite history. They can't just do it like that. It's just too big. It's really changes everything.
Yeah, it's a really amazing. I mean, even some of the I'm sure we'll get into it, but the chambers that were just recently discovered officially now underneath the entire Giza complex, which Thoth says in the Everald Tablets that that's where the halls of Amenti are located. I mean, and the halls of Amenti are actually, you can geotag it on Google Maps. It's actually a physical location at Giza. It's actually tagged on Google Maps.
And it wasn't supposed to be, right? And see, there are certain, it wasn't supposed to be. Just like this chamber, Zahi had told us so many. There's nothing to discover in the King's. There's nothing in the King's. There's nothing in the Great Pyramid. There's nothing there. There's nothing under the Sphinx. There's nothing. There's nothing to see here. Move along, right? Yep. Well, apparently that is not the case. Well, let's hope. Let's hope the tablets are there and we are the first to get inside of it, and they haven't already had access to it. Now, let's go back. So let's jump back to the origins here. When we talk about Thoth, there is also the integration of him with the Anunnaki, of course, with Atlantis and Lemuria. Yep. So where does his history start? Does it start with the Anunnaki, right? Or does it start with Atlantis?
Okay, well, Thoth is an Anunnaki, and I think people should understand the term Anunnaki to me is a generalized term for beings that came here from another place. I really honestly believe that there were multiple different types of people. In other words, humanoid, maybe reptilian humanoids, different various types over many eons. But the Anunnaki are to me, is a generalized term. That's the way I took it to understand it. But Thoth himself is from that alien force, or that outside advanced being force that came here a very, very long time ago. And his father, Enki, Ea Enki, is actually who the Earth is named after. And his uncle would be Enlil, who's Enki's brother. It was the ruler of the planet itself, and was also known as Yahweh in the Bible and so forth. But they came here and started this Atlantean civilization. Now, Atlantis, I think people get confused, and now that I've really dug into this, Atlantis was a ringed city, but I believe that was just a capital city that may have been in the Atlantic Ocean at one point, that ended up sinking, or most likely through that global flood or partial global flood or whatever it was, or maybe even some type of attack. But Atlantis, now, after doing all this research over all these years, I've discovered that Atlantis was not only a global civilization on this planet, it was an interstellar civilization. In other words, it covered our entire solar system and beyond. So it was a very, very big civilization. And I'm estimating they were probably at least 1 million years ahead of us in technology.
Well, if we look at it in those terms, there is two things to look at here. One, the melting of all of the glaciers would have raised the sea level and overtaken Atlantis. It overtook anything that was existing in the oceans as an island at that time.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Yeah. So that these are facts. That's number one, and that's why I think what you're saying is very, very solid. I don't think it was a volcanic eruption, I think it's something very, very simple. Glaciers melted, oceans rose by hundreds of feet, if not thousands. And took over everything. So there's that aspect. But the other part is the Anunnaki story itself, and Mars and the solar system, and how they came here and occupied. So it actually makes a lot of sense, and the timelines fit.
The timelines fit perfectly. And when you look at the history of the Anunnaki from the Enuma Elish and the Atrahasis epic, and the reason why I picked those two, because those two are one of the older epics that you can look up and read that were translated by people way back in the early 1800s. Had nothing to do with Zecharia Sitchin, who I absolutely love his work and his research. It's a shame what people try to do to him at the end of his life. But I like to go back and say, okay, let's look at the Enuma Elish and the Atrahasis epic, because not only do they back up the Everald Tablets and verify some of the information that's in there, it talks about the Anunnaki literally coming to this planet, whether you believe it was from Nibiru or from a Sirius star system or from Orion. It doesn't matter. Some people have different, views on that, but they came here. That's the basis of the story, to strip mine this planet and also Mars for resources. And one of those resources being gold, which they found some of that monoatomic gold in the Temple of Dendera. I went to the Temple of Dendera in May of 2014, and I saw the stone where they claimed that they discovered underneath this stone the powdered aurum that the Anunnaki would ingest for health benefits and make this elixir of life type of a drink out of it and everything else. So all of that stuff is amazing facts that are in these tablets that are etched in stone and made to stand the test of time. And when you look at them, you discover that these Anunnaki beings came here about 450,000 years ago, and they labored on this planet and Mars and our moon for 200 and something thousand years. And then they told there was finally a revolt, and the working class Anunnaki named the Igigi said, okay, we had enough. They came to Enlil's house, encircled his mansion, his encampment, and basically told him, we're going to go all out war unless we get some relief or get a break, a vacation or something. We don't even have any women. They didn't even have any women up on Mars, so it was really tense.
Right.
So they came to a conclusion that, well, Enki actually came up with the solution that he would take the existing hominid and modify that hominid and to create a worker slave. So, and what people got to understand is, even way back then, they didn't start off with giving birth to humans. It was a cloning system that they had initially established. And a lot of people say, well, why did the Anunnaki, with all this technology and all these advancements, why didn't they just make robots do the work? Well, they had these machines because they talk about these machines in these tablets that were crunching and crushing and so forth and opening gaps in the earth and everything else. So they had machines to help with the work. They did have that, but they had a couple of androids, not many. But I think based off of what I've read, it looks like they had a situation before that they had to address with artificial intelligence. And the Anunnaki have a very big superiority and a very big ego problem. And they knew, I believe, that if they created an army of artificially intelligent beings, that they could potentially be rivaled. So why not create an existing biological worker slave that you can control? You can control the genetics, you can control chromosome number 2, you can control the level of consciousness, and then you can have somebody that will never uprise against you, or you'd always be able to defeat them. And I think that's why they went with the biological type of a slave versus a robotic slave.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. And we're going to be taking a break right here. I'm going to leave you with this during the commercial. You can think about this. I was told from a leading researcher that we all love, he was with Sitchin and privately. And says, so, okay, man, where did you get it? Where did it come from? And he goes, well, I got it from the tablets. No, where did you? Well, I channel it. Mm-hmm. Now, think about that. The story is so complex and so deep and so wide and so accurate. Yes, some is extrapolated directly off of those tablets. That's a fact. But it's the other gaps in the story. And I just thought to myself, when I was told that, one day I will disclose who told me this. Okay. But it makes sense. Yeah. Sitchin's work is just extraordinary. And you're absolutely right. Towards the end there, it was not cool. And there you go. All right, our guest tonight, Billy Carson. We're talking about his new book, Compendium of the Everald Tablets. We'll continue the conversation, and we're going to go all the way back, and we have to. We're going to start at 36,000 years ago and move forward. It's Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow Billy at Forbidden Knowledge on Twitter. Of course, there's ForbiddenKnowledge.com. All of this social media stuff is right there. More with Billy right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas. Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
Hello, I'm Herculean. You're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Our guest tonight, Billy Carson, Forbidden Knowledge. That's right, Forbidden Knowledge comes to Fade to Black. It's time for me to get my learn on. I'm not playing around. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Billy at Forbidden Knowledge on Twitter. Now, Billy, I want to clear something up about Thoth. You say Thoth, I say Thoth.
Yeah. Right, no problem.
Yeah, I know, right. There are two different origin stories about his creation. One, the son of Enki, right? Brother Marduk. Yeah. Okay, I get that. Then there's the other, that he was the son of Ra and Hathor. So how did you clear that up?
Well, just looking into some of Gerald Clark's work from the book that he wrote, which is a great book called Seventh Planet Mercury Rising. He has a lot of great sources in there that kind of link Thoth to Thoth-me, or the dweller of Unal, who ends up being, according to this genealogy that's in this book, which I can't say it's 100%, but I trust his work is so good, and he's done such a great job with this information. It looks like Thoth-me and the dweller of Unal are the same person, who also is linked directly to the Enki figure, which is even mentioned in the Torah and some of the other books, some of the other ancient texts. So it looks like that is the link there is coming through the Emerald Tablets from Thoth-me, the dweller of Unal, being this person named Enki, who after the flood washed over the land, he tells his son to go out and, basically fulfill the plan that we worked out to regain civilization around the planet, reteach the people, and he sends them first to the land of Chem, which is ancient Egypt. So that's kind of where I got it. To be honest with you, I got the information that I kind of went with that one because I couldn't find really anything on the Ra Hathor side that can give me anything solid that I can grasp on. It was a little bit more mythical. And I even went to the Temple of Hathor, the Hathor Temple complex. I've been there. I talked to the pyramid priest. I did a lot, and I just couldn't get enough information. So I went with the other assumption that he most likely was this son of Thoth, as he kind of states in the Emerald Tablets, and that person is Enki, who's telling him to go out and take the crew and basically go teach the planet what to do again and get everybody back up to speed.
How did he end up in Egypt?
Well, Thoth ends up in Egypt. It's kind of weird. Well, see, before the flood, they were living in this Atlantean civilization, and they also had occupied Iraq or Mesopotamia. Now, when the flood came, that's when they moved all the operations over to Egypt. And now, what happened was his dad, Thothme, the dweller of Runal, tells him to take your crew, get in the ship. This is like in tablet number 1, and they lift off in the ship and travel to the land of Chem, of the hairy barbarians, basically, living in the desert caves, and bring them up to a high level of civilization. So his first orders after the flood were to go to Chem. Now, Chem is where now we call Egypt, which was given that name much, much later. So this is pre-dynastic era. This is the very, very beginning. So kind of like when Graham Hancock says, out of, all of a sudden all this stuff just popped up in Egypt. That's because this force, this alien force, or these advanced beings went there in some time in the distant past. And according to Thoth and some of the other records, it appears that he ruled over that area from 50,000 BC until about 36,000 BC, which is kind of ironic that these tablets were written around that time. And also another thing that kind of locks into there is where he says in the Emerald Tablets that I, Thoth, builded the Great Pyramid. So he's basically saying he built that pyramid or that pyramid complex in the Emerald Tablets. And if you look at some information about the Sphinx and the weathering patterns and the most likely date that the Sphinx and the Giza Plateau was developed and built, you come up with it around 36,000 years, because the Sphinx is supposed to align with Leo. Now, if it's aligned with Leo, obviously through a precessional period, and you go back about 12,500 years, somewhere in that range. Now, around that time was an ice age, and nobody wants to build a Sphinx during an ice age, I don't believe. So you go back another precessional period, and then you end up with this weird time frame where it's pretty close to when Thoth is claiming to build the Great Pyramid. So it's very possible that can push it back, the pyramid complex, back to around that time frame to when it was actually developed, around the same time that Thoth claims to have written these Emerald Tablets.
It only makes sense. It's beyond coincidence when you start to look at the precession of the equinox, and you're looking at those 26,000 year cycles, and you start to put all of this down. These dates line up with very specific things, not only with the Emerald Tablets, but just about everything else.
Yeah. For real, it's really amazing, because once you go back a couple of precessionary cycles, then you start to realize everything kind of really starts to make a lot more sense. Everything is a lot far older than what we've been told. It's not 5,000 and it's not 10,000. We're talking, 36, 40,000, 50,000-year-old structures. Some of these structures right here are very, very old.
And there's another thing that interlocks inside of the precession, which is the precession of the equinox, which is the Nibiru 3,600-year orbit. And you start to go back, we're at 2,000 right now, and you start to go back at those 3,600-year cycles, and everything lines up. Bam, 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 all the way back to 36,000 years ago.
All the way back. And the beautiful thing about what you said about Nibiru, I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of people thought that name was totally fabricated, but Nibiru is in the original or the oldest version of the Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation. Later on, Marduk had another set of tablets etched, and who was also, I think he was a brother of Thoth, actually. But he had another setup with his name on it, because he had taken over kingship at the time, and he wanted to be the one that was the one who was the destroyer of the ancient development of our solar system. You know, they kind of correlated these planetary bodies to different gods' names to tell the history of how the solar system was formed. And in that, he took Nibiru's name out and put his name in much later. But deep and deeper, you know, as far back as you can go to one of the original stone tablets, Nibiru is named on the tablet. And it's, you know, so it's a real planet or a real name of a place, put it that way, where it kind of backs up a lot of information that people have gone, you know, and said, look, this planet Nibiru. And now in more recent times, these astronomers have now discovered this binary solar system. In other words, we have a brown dwarf star inside of our solar system, which I just did a show with George Nuri on at Beyond Belief at Gaia, showing the actual clip that came on Fox News. There's an actual brown dwarf that has planets orbiting it inside of our solar system, far beyond the orbit of Pluto. And according to this astronomer, he says it's orbiting our sun every 4,200 years or so, you know, give or take a bit. So there's an object that's definitely out there that's 4 to 6 times the mass of our planet, that has objects orbiting it, or either it's the object that's orbiting a much bigger, you know, kind of a brown dwarf or failed sun, and it's in some type of a weird elliptical orbit around our sun. So that means we have 2 suns in our solar system, and everybody's been taught we only have one.
Yeah, that astrophysicist that presented his findings, I remember he was on a chalkboard, right? And he's writing, and he says, look, the math works. Now, I don't know what's going on, but it's the only explanation that there is. Yeah. But the math works. We have a great audience here, and Janine just posted this question. I just want to throw this out there to you because you just mentioned it. She says she has the book, The Everald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, with the translation and interpolation by Doriel. She wants to know, is that the real deal? Is it complete, or is it an abridgment?
Actually, Doriel has, to me, the most complete version. So she really has the best one out there, because the 2 additional supplement tablets that he added to the end make it complete. The other versions out there, there are a few, you know, like crystallinks.com and a couple of other sites, Bibliotecopedia. They're missing the last 2 tablets. But Doriel's version has the complete 2. Also, Isaac Newton has a complete version as well, but that's in Cambridge Museum, so we can't get access to that one. Nobody's kind of really replicated that one, but the Doriel she has is the most complete version, in my opinion.
Now, I've read the complete tablets a few times in my life, and what I have found is that it pretty much encompasses all world religions. You can get the right. It seems right, and I'm okay with that. But when you read through it, it's like, okay, well, I know where they got this idea from. I know where this came from. Very interesting. And what do you think about that? You know, it just seems like it's the basis of everything, which was its intention to begin with.
Right, and I think that it got twisted because it really is a alchemical, magical, mystical book that can really, if you read it out loud or listen to it out loud, alter, to me, I believe, your physical structure and the way your brain really even functions. I think it can take you to higher levels of consciousness because it's got a specific type of a flow to it, almost like a pattern that kind of aligns with your chakras when you hear it out loud. It's really scientifically written. It's kind of unified physics in a way, but one of the most amazing things that I saw when I was going through this was the fact that a lot of the times that Jesus is speaking in the New Testament of the modern day Bible, those exact statements and phrases can be found in the Everald Tablets, except that was written 36,000 years ago, and the Bible was only written, less than 2,000 years ago. So it's like, wow, where did they get this information from? They kind of really just lifted it out of there. Or, Thoth is known to be a person that is able to consciously reincarnate, and also he has gone down into these halls of Amenti 100 times. 100 times for 100 years each time. So he's basically been down there for 100,000 years over the course of many eons. So is Thoth Jesus, Yeshua, or is he maybe the father? Was there an artificial insemination? Because another thing I discovered through all this research was that even Jesus' grandmother was also a virgin birth, looking into the Apocrypha text. So is this a specific bloodline that was brought down so that he can maybe transfer his consciousness? Because he talks about transferring his consciousness into other bodies. There's just so much there that it could possibly be. But the fact is, no, Jesus did, the time he disappeared, he went to Egypt and he went to study at the mystery schools. And I know this for a fact because when I went there, I went to the actual place that he lived in when he was in Egypt. It's now like a shrine, and his name is in there and everything else. It's inside of a Coptic church. He was living in the basement of a Coptic church back then. So it's real. He was there, and he was basically attending the mystery schools, the Egyptian mystery school, before he left and went to India to learn Reiki healing and everything else. All of this has been taken out of the modern-day Bible, and that's all in the Apocrypha texts and the Nag Hammadi scripts. But it's really amazing because according to some of these other texts, he taught reincarnation, which Thoth talks about reincarnating, but conscious reincarnation, where he actually has a choice or a decision, or he understands how he's reincarnating, and he reincarnates with full memory. And he also talks about transferring his consciousness into the, or his ego into other bodies. So it's just really amazing that all this information's in here. And then you have Jesus popping up saying the same exact things, be one with the light is within you, all of this stuff. And I don't think that the Everald Tablets are more religious, even though the religions have taken it and become this kind of control system. I think it was more trying to tell people to look within and reach higher levels of consciousness through these various methods. But then a lot of these religious leaders took that information and took it and turned it into a control system and kind of edited it and took in and put out what they wanted so that they can really control the masses.
What is there's something else really interesting here if you think about it. We have Corey talking about the blue Avians. Mm-hmm. We have the image of Thoth. I think that, and if you look at some of the reliefs in the temples in Egypt, there is a direct connection there. And I know you know Corey, and I know you've looked at this too. But what do you think about that when somebody says, "The blue Avians, man, it's invented. This is a modern thing." I see this, and I don't see anything modern here. I think it's been spoken about for a very, very long time.
Well, you had the blue people in the Indian Vedas. You have green people, green gods, I should say, green gods in Egyptian hieroglyphs. You have blue in Egyptian hieroglyphs. And when I went there, and I had a homegrown Egyptologist when I went for the whole trip. I didn't go on a group tour. I went on a private situation with security and everything. And they say that these people were really these colors. If you see a blue god, that was his actual skin color. You see a green god, that was his actual skin color. And then you have the blue birds that are actually in the hieroglyphs. And according to him, that they were these bird-like people walking around with blue skin. So, a blue type scale. So remember whether they were reptilian or whether they were birdmen or whatever, I don't know. I do know that Thoth was depicted as having the head of an ibis, probably because an ibis has to put his beak deep into the mud to bring up sustenance. It's like, in other words, it's saying he's got to go into the darkness to bring it to light. And I think that's why he was depicted with the head of an ibis. But there were these blue beings supposedly walking around at that time. There's not a lot of information to gather on them, but they're in the evidence of them being there is in the hieroglyphs.
Now, let's go back to the origins of Egypt again, where we left off. So, Now, when we have the Anunnaki side of things, creating slaves, right? Us. Yeah. And then Thoth makes the transition of sharing knowledge, creating and helping us and moving forward. And of course, dynastic Egypt was born, the technology's there, he's built the pyramids. And so it seems to me that he broke away from his family and decided to help and advance the slaves that he was part of the creation of, right?
Yeah, correct. That's exactly what happened. Him and his father, if that really is his father, Thoth or Enki, for whatever reason, they were master geneticists, scientists, high IQ people, very, very creative, fell in love with the creation, fell in love with the human. They saw a lot of themselves in the human being, and Enki himself, during the process, added a little bit more extra essence. He gave him just a little bit more than he should have, which kind of pissed his brother Enlil off, because he didn't want human beings to be too conscious. But Thoth dedicated his entire lifespan here, or time that he put into us here, into bringing us up to a higher level of civilization, teaching us writing. That's where the word thought actually comes from Thoth. It comes from, the word thought, educating us on different types of ways of farming and building, architecture. He was a master architect. If he really did design the Great Pyramid, he did a phenomenal job, because if you look at the Giza Plateau, I have this great video that I did when I was at the Conscious Life Expo speaking, which shows that once you map out the pyramid temples and the pyramids and make a grid and then then encircle those grids, you come up with a scale model of our entire solar system, or our inner planets of our solar system. It's really amazing. And so the Giza Plateau is actually a star map on top of everything else that it already is. This takes a lot of high-tech knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And for him to do that and then go duplicate the same thing in Teotihuacan, Mexico, was amazing. The base of the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico was the same size as the base of the pyramid in Egypt.
That's right.
Halfway around the world. And then it's exactly 50% the height. And the pyramid in Egypt is, if you take the average height of the land mass of the entire planet, it's the height of the Great Pyramid in Egypt.
Yeah, I know. And these numbers, because they're so big, these numbers are huge numbers. You have to take coincidence out. A mathematician who looks at black and white, looks at numbers, looks at that and says, okay, no, this was done for a reason. This is not by chance. Exactly. So staying on this thought here, the awakening that he was responsible for us, this was slaves. These were slaves. What did his family think about that, and how does awakening fit into slavery for what they were doing?
Well, I'll tell you, it was pretty brutal. I mean, his father didn't really mind, obviously, but his brother, Marduk, who was also Amun-Ra, was one of his names, Amun-Ra or Amun-Ra, depending on how you want to say it. He was the one who ushered in monotheism into Egypt. But him and also his uncle Enlil were extremely disgusted. And the genetic experiment was so successful that people were duplicating on the planet at an exponential rate. And it got to a point even where Enlil was so upset that of the masses of people that were out there, he said they were just making too much noise. So he would say it's time to cull them. In other words, and he would have these different plagues that he would put out. He would dry out their crops. He would starve them to death. He would come up with all these vicious, brutal ways to and this is in the Enuma Elish. This is not no Zachariah situation. This is in the Enuma Elish and the Atrahasis epic type stuff, tablets, which have been translated by many, many advanced scholars since the 1800s. And this is what they would do. So they thought that they saw humans as basically as animals, or as something to be like a experiment that's in a zoo, and they had no value whatsoever. But Thoth and Enki loved humans and was always, trying to find ways to enlighten and save them. Even in the Atrahasis epic, who was actually the real story of Noah, Enki defies his brother and goes and gives Atrahasis a warning that the flood is coming. It's only a 7-day warning inside the Atrahasis epic. He had 7 days to build a round boat, a round submersible, and he was told to just gather his belongings and his, the animals that he had there with him and get on this boat. I'm assuming that Enki had already taken a genetic sample of everything that he needed to replicate him in case they needed him in the future. But it was only a 7-day notice in the Atrahasis epic. So it wasn't a lot of time to build a massive ship, but he did build it, and he was able to survive. And it talks in there that the Anunnaki actually watched from their skyships, and then Lil saw that he had survived, and actually in a way was kind of happy because they had ran out of supplies and they were hungry. And so they needed humans again because these Anunnaki did not go hunting for themselves. The biggest trick of these sacrifices, these lamb sacrifices, these cow sacrifices, and bringing forth your first harvest to donate to praise the gods, that was how the Anunnaki got their food. I got this verified when I went to Egypt. They would come to line up at the temple for miles and bring everything they had for food and fruits and vegetables and cows and everything else to the gods as an offering, thinking that it was just an offering to the gods. But that was the way the gods got their food. They would actually eat that food.
When we come back after the break, I'm going to set this up for you now. When we talk about all these genetic modifications, and I do want to stay on the Great Flood too, and those flood myths from all cultures on Earth. But when we talk about this lab and this testing, and they were geneticists, and we understand that, but does that describe the Garden of Eden?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, the first place that they set up shop in Mesopotamia was the Eden, Edin.
Mm-hmm.
And from all accounts that I can understand at this point, it looks like it was some type of an open air dome laboratory. When they had a couple of these on the Earth, but that was one of the first ones that they had. And for the most, what we call them Homo sapiens, they had a few in there that were clone people, and they were trying to mate them, and they weren't being successful with it. And then that's when Ninhursag said, okay, I'm going to take an egg out of an existing hominid. They cleaned the genetic material out of it and put their genetic material in, spit, spattle, and clay, and all this other type of lingo that they use in the tablets. But they're basically saying that they've added their essence, or they added their genetics to this egg, and which is called a zygote in modern scientific terms. Modern biology is called a zygote. And you take it, you embed it into the woman's womb, which she did, and she took it to term. And 10 months later, she gave birth to the Adamu, or which is the first man. And that was the first, most modern version of a Homo sapien, which is what we are right now. And then they tried to mate him with some of these clones, and it wasn't working. So they went back and took some DNA out of him and cloned and made a female, which was Eve. So that's where Adam and Eve actually came from, inside of this domed Eden structure, which then once they had it perfected at that location, then they spread it out all around the planet. And there's evidence of that in Avebury, UK, where if you go to Avebury in the UK, close to Stonehenge, and take an ordnance map of the area from public record, and take that same exact ordnance map and overlay it over Cydonia, which is a region on Mars, it matches perfectly. The anomalies on the Martian surface at Cydonia perfectly match the artificial anomalies built on Earth at Avebury in the UK, except this was done thousands of years ago when they moved all this landmass to create these fake anomalies there in the UK. So, it begs the answer, was this another version of an Eden being kind of remembered from Earth to Mars? So there's just a lot of questions that, can continue to rise here. As the further you dig, the more things you say, these can't be coincidences, that these guys were really working on an interplanetary scale for these resources. They must have really needed these resources bad, because they were doing everything they could to get them, and using humans as the experimental tools.
We got to take a break right here, but you're absolutely right. When you read the text and you read the translations and you see Adam or you see Eden, no matter how it's spelled, it's beyond coincidence. It just makes sense, and it matches the myth or the legend that is the Bible or other religious texts around the world. It's fascinating. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Billy Carson. Forbidden knowledge comes to Fade to Black. We're talking about Thoth. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
All
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Billy Carson. Forbidden knowledge comes to Fade to Black. We're talking about Thoth, the Everald Tablets. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Billy on Twitter at 4 Bidden Knowledge. The links are right up there in Twitter. Now, staying on this this timeline, and when we're talking about alchemy, and Isaac Newton, he was Hermetic, right? And if we back up and back up this timeline with alchemy and Hermes and Thoth and Egypt, we need to specifically talk about this and its influence on the world and how alchemy influenced everything. But before we get to that, I wanted to ask you this. Thoth says that he built the Great Pyramid. When you visited the Giza Plateau and you're looking around and you're visiting, you went to Dendera, right? You're going to these different temple structures. The Great Pyramids don't match, do they? I mean, they just look older than everything else that is there.
They are really old, man. When you stand next to those blocks and you can see the weathering that has occurred there, and even some of the just overall damage, because basically the whole area was flooded at one time. It was covered in complete water. Then it dried out, and then it got filled with sand. Then it was, then they took the sand down again, and then water came back in again. Then it dried out again. So you got a lot of weathering going on at the base of the pyramid, and as well as the Sphinx. The Sphinx weathering is very severe. You can see it. It's been reworked many, many, many times. Matter of fact, my grandfather, rest his soul, was one of the people that was actually called back in the 1980s to go do restoration on the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid. He was one of the people that helped design and build the first launch tower for the space shuttle for NASA.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay. And so when we talk about Thoth and his influence in Egypt and as a god, so there's that part of it. But there was the collection of everything, and Hermetica and the Library of Alexandria, where everybody came together and shared their knowledge. And then that spread over to Greece and took off, and alchemy and all of the world's religions kind of started, and is as crazy as it sounds, but probably right there in Alexandria.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when everybody started bringing all that knowledge to that one location and filling it up with all that content, and people were coming, and when you came to Alexandria, you had to come with books. You couldn't just pull up there and say, I'm coming to visit. You had to, and as soon as you pulled up, the guards would come and they would take the books off your hands. So that was your exchange, or that was your fee to get to dock. You had to bring your books with you. What an incredible place. I wish I could have lived there. I mean, it's just an incredible place. I can only imagine what could have been in those books before they ended up getting destroyed. But what an amazing place. And that was around the time getting closer to now the Greeks being in Egypt.
That's right.
And ruling over things, and their evidence of them. People go, there was never any Greek people in Egypt. Listen, man, I tell these people, you need to go get your passport stamped, or go buy one and get it stamped and go to Egypt and go for yourself and see that Egypt wasn't just one race of people over all these thousands of years. There were many races of people. You had black people ruling over Egypt. You had Arabs ruling over Egypt. You had Greeks ruling over Egypt. You had Assyrians. I mean, it was. You got to remember. People have to remember. Egypt has been around going back to the time when it was called the land of Chem, which is where the word chemistry and alchemy come from. It's a very old place. Going back, like we said, the dates that they gave us in the general history books is not even close to being accurate. So over all those eons, many different races of people have ruled over Egypt. It wasn't just black people. It wasn't just white people. It was many different races.
And when we look at it again in broad terms, the ancient mystery school teachings of Thoth were passed down to his initiates, who became priests, who then passed down that information. All of the alchemical side of things, were everything collected in Alexandria, then distributed. You have Trismegistus, right? And what happened with Hermes, the changing of the names, but it was still the same in Greece, and the same teachings were there. It went down in Rome, Da Vinci, Florence, right? And alchemy.
Yeah, just kept on going. Keeps on going. It's amazing. And, even Hermes Trismegistus, at first I thought that it was trying to say that he was born 3 times. But then the more I researched, Thoth has been around for so long that he has so many names: Ningzida, Quetzalcoatl, Melchizedek in the Bible. The names are just, it may be, he's of course Hermes, Tahuti. I can keep going. I can give you 15 more names. He might even be Yeshua. And that's when I said, well, it can't be thrice born, Trismegistus. And what I come to realize now, after reading these texts over and over again, that it's talking about being the master of the physical, the spiritual, and the mental. That's the Trismegistus. I believe that's what it really probably means, is that he's mastered those 3 aspects of reality.
So if we look at the origins of everything, does it consistently, for you in your research, does it always go back to Thoth?
It goes back to Thoth as being one of the very first people that were extremely active, meaning after the flood happened, if you want to go, if you go to the ancient Sumerian tablets, you can go back before the flood. But if you want to start from where the flood, where we kind of started, you start to find out that he's told to take his people to this land of Chem. When they get to Chem, what they do then is they raise a civilization there, and he tells then his crew to spread out all over the planet. And what an interesting thing about that is, I believe that's kind of how we got similar civilizations. In other words, people having this similar type of architecture all over the globe, similar type of statues, similar type of religious spirituality, but also different races. And I think that every person who went out and started their own little mini civilization kind of put their own genetic marker on the people that they were ruling over, giving us different races of people on this planet. And that's kind of what I get out of it, because we are all one human race. We're all one species. And on a subatomic level, you can't distinguish us one from another. But if you go into real pure genetics, you discover that an African versus a Caucasian versus indigenous Native American, there's about almost a 2% variance in genetic material that can't just happenstance pop up even over millions of years. It would take tens of millions of years for something like that to happen. So what it tells me most likely is that these that the races that we have now came from the Anunnaki. They genetically tampered with us to create these different races. Most likely this happening after the Tower of Babel incident, when they wanted to keep everybody separate and everybody in different regions and different languages and everything else, so that they couldn't come together and have enough strength and power to realize that they could probably do just as much or more than the Anunnaki could. It's just all part of the control. But I really do believe that's where all these different races came from, that it was all genetic tinkering. And if you look into the book of Deuteronomy in the Bible, you start to realize that the God that's speaking is actually not one particular God. It's actually multiple gods with an S. And when you go into some of the older texts, you start to realize that it was a mistranslation, that the word is gods with an S, not God singular. And then you realize that these stories in the Deuteronomy book are talking about these gods battling each other, using human beings as cattle to go across the different lands that they had never even been, to fight, to try to take over what I think is just their relatives' land and goods. So kind of like what we do today when we go to Middle East and other places and try to destroy them so we can take their resources. The same thing was happening back in the book of Deuteronomy. I don't believe that it was the God. I don't believe the God mentioned in there was the creator of the universe. I believe these were the Anunnakis, relatives of Thoth, that were fighting each other over resources and land back then.
I think that junk DNA that everybody references, right? And the way that the Anunnaki were geneticists and Thoth and history, that's where it is. You watch.
Oh, absolutely.
You watch that. The complete hit. We're looking for the Everald Tablets, but they're within us, right? We're looking for this
inside of us.
Right.
But I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the most important things people need to understand is that 1 gram of DNA is 700 terabytes, can store 700 terabytes of data. So now scientists have actually taken digital information, zeros and ones, and downloaded the entire Library of Congress onto 1 gram of DNA and then uploaded it back into the database again.
Yeah, I read that. If you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. It really does. There's a reason why it is there. And if we look at the creation of us as slaves, then why would the Anunnaki have been so sloppy in the DNA to give us diseases, to make us mortal, right? To make sure that there were issues there. Now, is it because they were sloppy? Were they making mistakes? Or
no, it was on purpose. So when you look into the text, you discover there's a particular part of the tablets that talk about, not the Emerald Tablet, but the Sumerian tablets,
right?
Where Enlil comes back and sees a tower being built. Now he says that my seed will not abide in man for more than 120 years.
Right.
In the Bible, it's mimicked as well. And now when you go and look in real genetic science that happened at Harvard University 2 years ago, they discovered that chromosome number 2 in the human body has been fused. And purposefully, not just accidentally, not just developed that way, but somebody went in thousands and thousands of years ago and fused our chromosome number 2 and put a telomere cap on each end. And a telomere is this cap that has this genetic buffer material, so that every time your DNA and your cells replicate, the buffer is there to prevent information from being lost in the replication process. The problem is, over time, the buffer material disappears with every replication. It gets smaller and smaller. And they found out that the optimal time that a human being can live is 120 years. So there you go, science backing up these ancient tablets again. Okay?
That's right.
And
it's amazing. Yeah, and let me jump in and just say that I don't think it can happen in nature. Right?
No.
I don't think that it can, and I don't think it's happened anywhere else in nature. It's only with us, right?
Right, correct. Only with us. And now they've experimented with this telomere, and they've experimented on mice to see if they can extend the life of mice past their normal lifespan, and they've increased mice life by 3 times. So you can only imagine what they can do now with a human. So when you hear these Anunnaki talking about, like you read the King's List that in ancient Sumeria, when these kings would rule for 28,800 years each, you go, well, how can somebody live that long? Well, look, we just tripled a mouse's life. But add that to advanced, bionics and everything else, and you can see how a person could potentially live for many thousands and thousands of years under the right optimal conditions.
Now, Thoth, well, he was immortal, right? Marduk was not?
Well, all of them were supposedly had the secret to immortality, which was this elixir that they had to drink, and also Thoth would go into the halls of Amenti. So would his father. I never heard of Marduk going into the halls of Amenti, and I've never been able to find a reference to that anywhere. But I'm assuming that with the technology that they had, he could probably live for a very, very long time. But Thoth had mastered, according to these tablets, he had really mastered the aspect of astral projection, finding other bodies or cloning bodies and putting his consciousness into those other bodies. He had even mastered jingling matter out of the ether, through frequencies and all these types of things. So he had really become a master wizard at a lot of this stuff, according to the tablets. But I've never seen where Marduk had gone into the chamber or was immortal. But it did say that he ruled from his skyship a lot in some of the texts that I've read. So he obviously wasn't on land that much. He most likely ruled from space, kind of like his grandfather Anu also didn't come down to Earth that often. He mostly just observed from space.
Now, Isaac Newton, being an alchemist and translating the Everald Tablets and the pursuit of the Philosopher's Stone and these elixirs of life, that's probably what he was pursuing too as well. But also, all of his genius came out. It not only with math, but with physics, and most of Newton's law didn't get changed until Einstein, right? So that's a pretty smart cat. Did it come from
very smart?
Very smart. Did it come from the Everald Tablets? And do you think he was pursuing, the elixir of life and immortality as well?
Oh, absolutely. I believe he was definitely pursuing that and researching it and trying to acquire that higher level of transmutation within the body that can take you to another level spiritually and physically and gain immortality through that method. A lot of people had tried and even poisoned themselves, just through the experimentation. But it seemed that he had successfully not only translated these tablets, which are still his book or his translation is at the Cambridge College in England and in the UK. But he had also, in my opinion, achieved a higher level of understanding about the material world and the non-material world, just based off of some of his writings and information. And he had also basically, to me, possibly gotten smarter through the reading of these tablets and the deciphering of these tablets, because there's just certain parts of this, and you've read them before. If you start saying it out loud and you start to realize there's it's almost like kind of an incantation in a way, and the way that you speak it, it's like bars in a song, but you start to feel a certain way. Like for example, there's one section in the tab, I think it's tablet number 6, where he's talking about if you're feeling bad or if something is going wrong or you're being attacked, to go and find a private space, encircle, make an invisible circle around yourself and then say these words. But the words, the first one I read them, I thought it was like, is this voodoo? What is this stuff? But then I realized, digging more, it's that the actual vibration of these words, the frequency of these words being spoken, coming out of your mouth, have an effect on ether and space-time. And I think Isaac Newton discovered a lot of this stuff that's inside the Emerald Tablets. You can actually, if you understand what's really being taught here, you can actually find ways to manipulate the matrix itself. And that's where, these tablets really got me hooked, because then I realized there was so much in here that you can do if you really understood what was being said and how to verbally speak it in a way that can modify your own reality, as well as give you more information. In other words, when I say more information, I mean Isaac Newton, most likely, I hate to use the word channeling, but was getting information from the universal consciousness through these tablets. And what I mean by that is, I don't believe that any human being has any thought of their own. I believe there's only one mass consciousness, and the magnetite crystals in our brains receive that information and give us the thought. So in my opinion, he may have gotten to such a level depth with the alchemy that he was able to pick up information, and into his crystal receivers, there's millions of magnetites in your brain, and download that information to his body, and then utilize that information to teach people and bring information out to the world. That's kind of where I took it with him.
Yeah, we are one.
Yep, absolutely.
We are one. And I was just going to, I had the perfect question. It just left me. It was right there. And it was this. So there was, going back through history again, before Isaac Newton, that the Renaissance, again, because of Florence and Hermeticism and the Emerald Tablets and alchemy, pulled us out of the Dark Ages too, as well. It was again another example of history where the Emerald Tablets and alchemy and this thought process through the thinkers of the time, it actually pulled us out of the Dark Ages.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right. This is when all of a sudden quantum physics started to pop up. Zeno started to come up with the concept of the atom, and all these concepts of subatomic particles came up all the way back then, right around the time of this Hermeticism and this awakening of consciousness. And I forget the exact reference that I was looking at when I was researching for this book, but there was a reference that said that if left untouched, we would have gone to the moon in the 1800s. But then we had the whole Crusades and everything else, and the Papal Inquisition, which really deteriorated advancement of mankind globally. They killed over 80 million people, over that 600-year span or whatever. But when you really look at what was going on back then, we were so far advanced mentally and consciously, we should have been already traveling the stars by now.
Yeah, and it should have happened in Egypt. It should have happened in Greece. It should have happened in Rome, but the knowledge was curtailed each time, and civilization collapsed. Yeah, I think it happened over and over again. We're going to be headed towards a break right here, and I want to set up for when we come back. Also, you want to take some phone calls?
Sure, no problem.
You down for that? Okay, everybody, get ready. I'll open up the phone lines at the top of the hour, 323-825-5045. And 323-275-9695. But there's something else here that needs to be mentioned. When we look at the Emerald Tablets and we talk about alchemy, there are alchemists right now that I have talked to that say that right now there is a lot of immortality. There are people walking this planet that are thousands of years old.
I believe it.
Yeah. Is that because of the Emerald Tablets and the mystery schools continuing the alchemic traditions?
Absolutely. I believe it 100%. There's people, and some of the elites have their hands on this information, and if we don't take control of this planet back, eventually they're going to sell time to us.
Right. Well, it makes me, how old are you? I'm just kidding. But yeah, right? And if we go back and we look, talking about the Renaissance and Isaac Newton and certain thinkers that made these broad jumps that we were just talking about, then you had Da Vinci, who was Hermetic.
Yes.
And he was also deciphering and translating this information, but he was way ahead of his time, too. Either he was a time traveler, right, and came to the future and went back, or he had access to the oneness and was able to get this information, too.
Right, exactly. Incredible stuff. I mean, Da Vinci was one of the most enigmatic figures in history. His work, his understanding of pi and phi and Fibonacci and everything else. I mean, the guy was just the way he did everything. Even his art was set up on the golden ratio, and his technology was so advanced. He was like a Tesla back then, And he just had this information. He would just download it from wherever he was getting it, or like you said, maybe he was from the future. You just never know, man. I can't rule anything out because I've seen so many incredible things in my life already that you almost have to say, okay, it's a possibility.
Was the Christ consciousness the same as Hermetica?
Yes, it is, actually. That's what it really is. That's what it's about.
And do you consider, I'm just going to do this right before the break, do you think Da Vinci was awake?
I think he was definitely awake, and I think that he wanted to put a lot of information out so he would encode his secret knowledge into his work. Hoping that, particular people who are awake enough could see it and understand it, or maybe far in the future would be able to grasp it, just because of the era and time that he lived in. So I really do believe he was definitely awake.
How did the research for the book into the Everald Tablets, did it change your worldview?
Oh, it did, man, because I started utilizing some of the meditation techniques in here, and I started really understanding the matrix a lot more. I already had a pretty decent understanding, but when I tell you that I could see geometric patterns in my meditations after going through this book 50, 60 times, I can start to see geometric patterns. And then not only that, I was able to trigger those geometric patterns while I was even awake with my eyes open. And it's almost like we are literally living inside of a light matrix, which the Everald Tablets really alludes to the fact that we're living in a holographic matrix, which I talk about a lot on Forbidden Knowledge. And the fact that we are living in a simulation, that somebody above us in an ancestor civilization has literally flipped a switch on, and we're most likely in a universal experiment. So we're an experiment within an experiment within an experiment, and the chances that we're in base reality are probably next to zero. There's probably trillions of levels of ancestor civilizations above us. And we just happen to be one of them.
I'm okay with that. And we're going to continue.
I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm totally cool with that. We're going to talk about that more when we come back. Our guest tonight, Billy Carson. And we'll open up the phone lines, too, as well. It's Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Again, follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Billy on Twitter at @4 Bidden Knowledge. We'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. I'm goofing around in the studio. You guys are watching me on the bunker cam. You know that I'm having fun. Our guest tonight is Billy Carson, and I've opened up the phone lines. I've got a bunch of people on hold, so we'll get to calls here in just a second. And boom, I've got to get all of this going. Okay, good. We're good. Okay, so if you're on hold, stay right there. And now we were just talking about this is the other thing that kind of Billy takes me to another place. When we are talking about all of these thinkers that were way ahead of their time, there's a connection. And I don't care if it's Jules Verne. I don't care if it's a scientist. I don't care if it's a religious figure. All of them have this hermetic Thoth alchemical tie that brings them all together. Are we at the verge, like I asked you right before the break, how has it changed you? Are we right at a point in history where this is all going to come to pass, and the holographic world, the binary possibilities, the matrix, and the alchemical side, all of this is going to come together? I'm okay with it, but what about the rest of the world?
I think, human beings are very resilient, and I think that presented with the appropriate information and a complete story of everything, they would not only be able to understand it and digest it, I think it would make us a better planet overall. I really do believe that we are getting very, very close to a major breakthrough in consciousness on this planet. We're going to reach a critical mass of conscious folks. In other words, people on a higher level of thinking than before within the next 15 to 20 years, maybe 30 at the most. I know that the age of Aquarius officially ushers in 2025, I believe. That's when it really officially starts. Even though we're in the age of Aquarius, we haven't really gotten there yet. It's coming up in 2025. But I'm starting to see a lot more children now that are on a wavelength that is just beyond belief, that are just, their brain function is just way out there. I'm starting to see a lot more people coming up with ideas and concepts that are just outside of the box. And I just think that overall understanding is going to be increased. And I think once we start to go down the path of Nassim Haramein with the unified physics and start combining the spiritual with the physical and the subatomic, then the understanding, if we can start teaching that in school or in college somewhere, the understanding of what this realm is really all about is going to really just enlighten everybody. And I think we're going to see a lot of people waking up to a certain level that's going to help us move forward, take back control of this planet, put down these 100 families that are controlling 7.5 billion people, which is a total lunacy to me that we've allowed this to happen, and move forward and go into that golden age.
Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, my name's Thomas Hand.
Hey, Thomas, you've got a really bad connection. Call me right back, and I'll put you at the front of the line. Let's go stay on the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Jimmy. Hi, this is Ken from Irvine.
Hi, Ken from Irvine. Say hi to Billy.
Hi, Billy. Boy,
All
what
right.
a show, Jimmy. Billy, fabulous. It just hit a chord. Really appreciate it. Talk about
Thank
getting you learn on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I wanted
Appreciate
to
it, man.
ask
Thank you.
We talked about Adam and Eve, so I'm just wondering about the original sin and the eat from the tree of knowledge or the tree of life. Is that in this realm? Is that referenced?
Yes, actually it is. Basically what happened was in this Eden that they were in, this experimental area, people were forced to mate at specific times and not mate and so forth and so on. And there was also an area in there where Adam and Eve were located, where they were going through their learning process on how to tend the garden and handle animals and so forth and so on. It's like a real learning process they were going through. During this time, Enki comes in, who's Enlil's brother, and starts enlightening the two of them on information, on wisdom and knowledge and understanding. And so the original sin thing has nothing really to do with disobeying or not listening or doing something evil or eating an apple. The apple was a book. The apple is knowledge. They were able to, wherever it was, digest some of this knowledge that Enki kind of cued them into, and he was then called the serpent by his brother. But in reality, it was about getting information and knowledge. And when they got this information and knowledge, all of a sudden they realized they were naked. They realized that where they were, the blinders were taken off. They understood that they were being treated like animals in a zoo. And that's kind of where it went. And if you go into the Apocrypha text that was taken out of the Bible and look at the book of Adam and Eve, then you realize they were then kicked out of the garden, and Adam tried to commit suicide. And one of the guards, Enki's guards and Lil's guards, came over and stopped him from drowning, stopped him from killing himself. And he went through this whole process of being depressed and everything else. This is all in ancient text that's available to the general public, but nobody knows that it's really there. You can get it now on Amazon and stuff. You can get the Apocrypha. But it's an amazing story. But the original sin was just the fact that they were able to get access to knowledge.
Thank you for the phone call, Ken. Great question.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Billy.
Have a great night. Let's go to Paul. Paul, say hi to Billy.
Hi, Billy.
Hey,
hang on.
Sir.
I am just absolutely, really, really excited to be on with you tonight. I've got two basic questions. First one has to do with Viracocha.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if Viracocha isn't another incarnation of Thoth.
That's what I also took from it. Viracocha. I even have a Viracocha artifact in my house that I collected. I believe that was also another incarnation of Thoth. He had so many of them, and but I do believe, just based off of what I read, that was another one, and he also helped develop that mountain civilization as well.
Second question, Paul, quickly.
Is he still with us? And I'll take my answer off the air.
There you go, Paul.
I believe he is. I believe that Thoth is still walking either this planet or another. Just based off of the fact that, or I don't want to say the word fact, but based off of the record that he left behind that states that he's, done this 100 times, 100, that's 100,000 years of lifespan. I believe he's probably an expert at it. And the only thing that could probably take him down is if somebody kills him without him being able to transfer his consciousness first. And maybe even that wouldn't stop him. Maybe he's developed a way to get to the astral plane and then find the body. I'm not really sure, but I do believe, in my personal opinion, he's still walking the earth right now, or another planet.
Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Faded Black. Oh, I lost that call. Let's go to the next one. Hi, you're live on Faded Black. Say hi to Billy.
Hi, Billy. This is Phil.
Hi.
And hi, Jimmy. I wanted to ask about the last two tablets. I know a little bit about the beginning, the all is all is consciousness, as above, so below, vibration, gender, all that stuff. So I'm kind of curious about the stuff that I haven't heard about. Could you
that's the best part of the book, because it goes into the fact that we are God. That's really that's why it had been suppressed for so long, because originally those two were held back and then released much later. But to summarize it, because we don't have a lot of time to summarize it, it goes into the fact that we are God. In other words, the essence of the universe itself that creates everything we see, know, hear, touch, feel is inside of us as well. So we are the God. We are God, and God is us. It's both one and the same. And what happened is consciousness has separated itself into trillions of entities, so it can experience itself subjectively from many different aspects of life, whether it be from a bacteria all the way to a conscious sentient human being or a humanoid on another planet. It doesn't matter. It's collecting data, and what this data is being collected and sent to, where the source is being sent to, I really don't know, but I believe that this entire thing is a data collecting experiment.
And thank you for the phone call, Phil. I have let's stay right there for a second. 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. If you're on hold, stay right there. If we are divine, right? Okay, yep. And we are our own gods. Now that in turn goes against most of the doctrine and dogma that is out there. Now we've got a problem. At least those religions have a problem, right?
Yeah, the religions have a problem. But when you look into even the biblical text, and Jesus says, "Ye are gods," and he says even that you should be able to do greater things than me. And what he's trying to tell you is, and even even other parts of the Bible saying, that meet me at pineal. In other words, the third eye. Meet me in your pineal gland. The location of God, the ultimate source, is inside of your head. And what this really is all about is discovering that we are co-creators in this entire realm, and that we are not just creating reality individually, because that's collective, but we are creating our own reality tunnel. And that's been proven by so many scientists through experiments with water and sound and words and frequencies and vibrations and how what you say and what you speak with intention. So we're all creating our own reality tunnel, but we're also collectively creating reality. And I think that people need to understand, yes, we are divine, and we have a certain amount of power over our lives based off of our intention and the way we think. And a lot of people don't realize that. So what they've done is they go to the secular system and then they beg for help. Oh, God, help me. Oh, God, instead of realizing, no, you are the one that can bring the help. So there's two ways. One way is begging and one way is commanding. And when you look to the Hindus and some of these other civilizations that are out there, even right now today, that are able to heal people through intent and commandment versus begging and pleading, there's two different mindsets there, and I think that we've gotten away from that with religion.
This just came in from Twitter. Have you seen the new TV series on Netflix called Dark?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Dark. Let me type that in now.
Well, you've seen Stranger Things.
No, I haven't seen that either. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Billy, I don't know if you
catch
know
up.
this. I'm going to help you out here. There's a thing called There's a thing called Netflix. It's going to be huge, man.
Okay.
It's going to be big. You need to check it out. Well, in this Stranger Things, not to get into Stranger Things, but Stranger Things was very successful over here. There's a TV series, a German series called Dark, and it's very similar to Stranger. I'm not saying it's a copy or a German version of Stranger Things, but it follows children with a forest and what they're going through. Anyway, parallel worlds, everything that we talk about on the show is involved here.
Oh, wow.
But in this series, Dark, one of the kids in the show, his name is Noah, has got a tattoo of one of the Emerald Tablets on his back.
Oh, now I got to watch it.
Yeah, right. So anyway, I was going to ask if you knew which tablet it was. So now you do have to go check it out and get back to us on that. All right. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, this is Clint from Nashville. How are you guys doing?
Clint from Nashville. Say hi to Billy.
Hey, Billy. How you doing?
All right, man. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, no problem. I've been following your work for a while and had a question about the name Anunnaki. Do you think that this is what these beings refer to themselves as, or is it something we named them?
It's a combination. In other words, we combine the words because Anu, who was the ruler of all of these, the first pantheon that came here, the original Sumerian pantheon, his name was Anu. He was the father of Enki, Enlil, and the whole, pretty much everybody. And then Ki is the short term for Earth. In other words, that was a Sumerian name for Earth. So human beings kind of combined it together, or either that, or they told us to combine it together. But that's kind of where it came from. Anunnaki was Anu, and Ki, meaning that we're on Earth, and that's how they came up with the name.
So Sumerians did it in their text.
Correct, Sumerian.
There you go, Clint.
Very interesting.
Thank
you very much.
We're getting our education on. Thank you, Clint. And see, you have to love our community is awake. They are fully engaged, man. And I one of my favorite things to do is to take phone calls. This just came in. This is from Jace. And Jace says, wait a minute. If we are living in a hologram, what's the point in anything? It would all be false. And that's the question that comes up most often. So, Billy, I'll let you have a crack at that first.
Oh, absolutely. Look, that's a really good question. And see, I think when people hear the word hologram, they start to think of, what they've seen on TV or a video game, even though a video game is a type of a hologram because it's a light matrix. But what I try to tell people, it doesn't mean that you're not real. It doesn't mean that your family, your experiences, and everything else aren't real, because that is real. It's really happening. Whatever's going on is really occurring to you and for you. But what it means is, let's talk about the fundamental structure of what the creation is. Quantum physics proves that we're living in a creation. And there's no doubt anymore. There's nobody scratching their head saying this is just random. Real quantum physicists and theoretical physicists understand this is a creation, and it's all based on mathematics. So now when you look at the mathematics and look at the essence of what we're in, you take it down to an atomic level. When you look at the atomic level, it's 99.9% empty space. You go to the subatomic level, you find out everything begins to, the closer you look, the more everything becomes digitized. And a famous professor Sylvester James S. Gates at the University of Maryland discovered that area that we're looking at, that etheric area that almost seems to be like nothing's there, or digitized particles, he discovered that it's something called Adinkra codes. And these Adinkra codes are the same exact codes that run search engine browsers and computers. So the ether of space-time by some of the top, and this guy was the presidential scientific advisor to Obama, by the way, have now discovered that the ether of space-time itself is run off of computer code. This is what we're living in. So it doesn't take away from the fact that we're entities and beings and sentient and everything else. But what it means is, it just means that the method used to create this realm is a digitized method, most commonly that we have kind of adopted ourselves, probably just because it's built into us. Computer code, zeros and ones, data in bytes. And we'll probably create the same thing. We have a program called The Sims now, a video game.
Right.
In 8 to 10 years, they're saying it's going to be conscious people in The Sims. So they're going to be having a radio show like this. They're going to be talking about where do we come from and everything else, and trying to figure out when the Big Bang happened for them. So it's really another ancestor civilization type of a setup. But again, it's not that it's fake. It's just that it's the method used to create the reality.
Yeah, it's still real. You're still making your own decisions. You still have free will. Let's not. I'm okay with it. It doesn't change our reality. No. Right? You're still going to have to pay taxes. You still got to get. If you think you don't have to get up and go to work to pay the rent or eat to stay alive because we're living in some computer simulation, you've got something coming to you.
Exactly. And I think that real quick, I think that everything is an electromagnetic wave. Everything, even everything you think is solid, really doesn't exist as a solid object until your brain collapses it into a digital bit of information that we can call matter. That's kind of the way I think everything really works and how we collectively create the reality.
Yeah, I mean, if you go just out of frequency by just the tiniest of amounts, everything disappears.
That's right.
It's really true. We happen to see in this very thin, spectrum of light. That's where we exist. But outside of that spectrum, to the right or to the left, by the slightest change in numbers, is a whole nother reality.
Absolutely.
We just
and that's
don't
why
see
I tell
it.
people that if somebody can phase shift their atomic structure, they can walk into another universe or walk into another dimension. And who's to say other entities have not already done that?
Of course they have. And you could, walking through walls. Well, the walls aren't even there anymore. Right?
Exactly.
So that I know it's twisted to go there, but this is based on scientific fact, and you're absolutely right about quantum theory and quantum mechanics and parallel worlds. It is just the way that it is. Got time for one more phone call. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy. Kyle from Sacramento calling.
How are you?
How you doing?
Doing good. Say hi to Billy.
Good. Perfect. Hi, Billy. I'm sorry if I'm bringing up something that already came up earlier in the show. I missed a bit of the show tonight, but I thought it was a really interesting conversation about Thoth, and with what happened last night on Coast to Coast with L.A. Marzulli and those skulls possibly actually being from the Middle East or of Middle East descent. With the announcement of the Peruka schools, I think it's called.
Yeah, Paracas.
Paracas. And so I'm curious, what does Billy think if that could possibly be the idea of Thoth coming down to South America too?
Yeah,
just like Quetzalcoatl and what Grammy Hancock was saying, and
that's
absolutely.
That's a really good point. Thank you for the phone call. I had the results of the DNA last month. Speaking with the team off the air, I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, but I didn't listen to the show last night. But I can freely discuss this now.
Yeah.
So the DNA test results showed these skulls from Peru have the genetic signatures of not only the Middle East but North America. So that's a very interesting twist on these elongated skulls coming out of Peru. He's absolutely right. What does this show about Thoth?
Well, one thing that I can just go back to this is the Sumerian tablets. After the Great Flood, before the Great Flood, only Sumerian kings, which were Anunnaki, would rule over the earth and mankind in different regions of the planet. After the Great Flood, they decided to start allowing humans in a specific bloodline to rule over humans, to take off some of the workload off of the Anunnaki.
Right.
And I think it's because they probably wanted to go explore other parts of space and things like that. But whatever. But so that happened, and that means that these people were half human, half Anunnaki. And I think those are the elongated skull people, the ones that are not a result of skull binding. And I think this is why the pharaohs would call themselves gods, or really the kings would call themselves gods, and had people worship them because they felt like they were, because they had 50% of the gods' DNAs in their DNA in their bodies. And then that bloodline spread out all over the planet to rule over human beings in certain regions of the world. And I think that when you see an elongated skull person, that you're most likely seeing a person that was a demigod or half human, half Anunnaki, lineage. Now, what's amazing about this is that just on the 24th of February, a few days ago, they discovered Thoth's priests in Egypt, in this place, 1,000 statuettes, alabaster canopic jars, organs. They discovered the priests' tombs and everything, all going pre-dynastic and directly affiliated with Thoth. This is like a big discovery that just happened not too long ago. So I'm really dying to see what some of these mummies look like. I want to see if they have the big skulls, the elongated skulls. There's a few photos online, but I'm waiting for some more of the better images to come out. But they found a lot of content in this area, and they've already related it directly to Thoth and his priesthood, which is amazing. So that again confirms who he was and that he really did rule over Egypt at a certain period in time, pre-dynastic. And I really would like to see what these skulls look like when they bring them out.
Okay, I'm going to have to ask you to do a little overtime with this. Are you down for another 10, 15 minutes after this break?
Yeah, man, let's go.
Man, I'm just having a great time. I'm just having a great time. So we'll save my thought process. I won't forget where I was going for after the break. But I want to stay here because of the elongated skulls. Yeah. Akhenaten, obvious. But his connection to monotheism and Ra, and and his direct depictions of not only his body type but his face, his skull, and the way that he looked suggest Anunnaki, and I can't get away from that. It feels alien ET-ish to me.
Yeah, it does, and I've got a lot of information for that, to talk about it with that subject. So that's a great question.
Okay,
great topic.
So are you with me on that? When you
yes,
look,
sir.
I mean, you just look at him, and he does not look like anything else that has been represented for 3,000 years throughout Egypt.
No, typically the broad shoulders, the tiny waist, very strong looking. And then all of a sudden you have Akhenaten who comes, and he's got Black African type of facial structure features, but his skull is humongous. His children's skulls are all elongated, not from binding. You can tell that the size of the skulls from the busts are, they're massive. They're just super massive. And then you look into the fact that he was worshiping the sun god, was Ra, and he ushered in monotheism under Ra's order.
Right.
To do so, because that's what Ra wanted. He didn't want his brothers and his cousins and nephews and everybody else on the planet, the other Anunnaki, to be worshipped anymore. He wanted to take all the credit. He actually took, kingship early, ahead of his processional period, and caused a war, a pyramid war, because of this. Because he jumped the ship. He jumped the line and tried to take over too early. He ended up getting it, whatever. They kind of just said, whatever, just take it, man. But they ended up having a battle and everything else over this. But another thing that people don't understand, when you go to Egypt, you can learn this for yourself. Everywhere you go, the gods, all these hieroglyphs and everything, they're all defaced. 99% of them are defaced, and this was mostly done under the order of Akhenaten. Okay, so what people have to understand is, yes, I'm pretty sure there were some statuettes and things like that defaced by different cultures, Europeans, whatever, but the thousands upon thousands that I witnessed from all the temples that I went to when I traveled, I was there for a month. I went all over Egypt. This was ordered by Akhenaten. Even hieroglyphs he had ordered to be erased, completely wiped off the record, if they represented any other god, which were all his, the Anunnaki rulers and pantheon. And so
he
did it.
Yeah,
I was going to say he's the one who ordered it.
Yeah, he did. And this is the other remarkable thing about him. and Nefertiti. The entire for up to that point, 1,500 years, the priest had it good. It was a money system, right? So they had the temples, and they were getting fed, and the priests were rich, and their families, and everything was going good. And he stopped that.
Yeah, no. He stopped it cold, man, like overnight almost.
He had a target on his back, man, no doubt.
Oh, my God. There's a possibility he might be the Moses that fled out of Egypt.
There's that aspect of it, too. Absolutely. Our guest tonight, Billy Carson. I'm having a great conversation. I'm going to hold Billy over for a little bit of overtime, and I've got to keep my thoughts going. And so you are going to get your learn on along with me. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Billy after this short break. Stay with us.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl, Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hey, can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. The holidays are coming. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Billy Carson, Forbidden Knowledge. And again, you can follow him on Twitter. The links are there. And now you can become some of you can become the 3,000,001 follower of Billy Carson. Everything is there. Forbidden Knowledge on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. It's all right there. We've got the links up. And if you go, of course, forbiddenknowledge.com, and the links and everything are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Easy to do. Now, this is where I want to go. And let's see if we can get all of this in. The massive awakening that is happening, we can all feel it, we know it, it is going on right now. Could it be because we are talking about everything is one, universal consciousness, everything is connected? Could it be that Thoth finds or manifests his consciousness or return through us?
You hit it right on the head. That's actually where I was going with the whole thing. The fact that the information of the concept of a return is not a return of a physical being. It's a return of consciousness. And the best way to make yourself immortal and spread your information is through wisdom, knowledge, and information. And everything has a cycle. And now we're going into a cycle of being able to get this information again. It's been unsuppressed. It's been made available through the internet, through your cell phone. You can download an Everald Tablet on your phone nowadays. You can get everything. So all this information is coming back. You got people like yourself and myself explaining it to the best of our ability and helping people try to get a grasp and handle on it. And then when they go and become a researcher and start digging into it, it's just building up this frequency. And as the frequency, gets stronger and stronger, it's going to be like a consciousness explosion on this planet. And that's when I believe that we will take back control of this planet and denounce the 100 families that are ruling it, and really invite ourselves into the galactic community. I believe that they're up there. There's a federation, in my personal opinion, that is waiting on us to grow up and waiting on us to reach a level to where we realize who and what we truly are, and then we'll get a chance, in my opinion, to sit down at the table.
It's never happened like this before, because if you look, this massive awakening wave, it's got to be a sign of something, right? But not before in history has it ever shown itself like this.
Yeah, this is amazing. Like, when I first started going to the Conscious Life Expo 6 years ago, there were, a few thousand people. Then every year it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was going, wow, this is incredible. I mean, I got to the point where the year before last, they were the line to get into a David Wilcock presentation or lecture or something like that was literally almost 1,000-something people. And I'm going, this is absolutely unbelievable. This many people are on the same frequency or looking for this knowledge and information. And then to see everybody walking around this year just passed, and I'm going, wow, it increased again. And now Contact in the Desert has increased, which I'll be speaking at in June. And it's just like, it's growing at an exponential rate right now. There's more conscious conferences popping up. I've been invited to 8 of them already over the next year. And I'm going, they didn't even exist before. This many people are looking for this type of information. They want something different. They want an understanding of something outside of the norm that they've been taught. Even if they don't believe it all at once, they want to at least hear it and take it in. But that's creating a ripple in the space-time continuum. So by us putting this information out on a consistent basis and teaching people, suppressed information, we're literally altering the future.
I can't wait to hang out with you at Contact in the Desert. It's such a big part of what we do here. You're aware of that. Yeah. I understand.
Yes.
But let me tell you what I'm bummed about. Your big presentation is at the same time as my panel on Sunday night, right? And so I'm putting the panel together, and I wanted you on the panel, and I'm because that's our the Sunday night farewell deal, and I'm like, man, Billy's speaking right up against me.
Oh, goodness! I thought I was going to be on the panel.
Well, maybe we can move some stuff around, but wait till you see what's going on out there. Conscious Life Expo, excellent consciousness and awakening. But Contact in the Desert is different in that it's all about disclosure, right? That entire thing, and when you get around, that many thousands of people focused on you, you're going to have the best time of your life. And now also but I'm probably going to introduce you at when you're doing another presentation there. But it's Contact in the Desert is so cool. I want to ask you really quick. You're doing two different. You're doing a workshop and you're doing a lecture. What are you speaking about at the workshop?
At the workshop, I'm going to talk about the Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation and the Atrahasis epic. So I'm going to take us back to the ancient Sumerian account of the creation of our solar system and show that there were advanced beings occupying this region of space at that time. So I'm going to kind of take it all the way back so people can get a good understanding of how our planet even got here, where Earth even came from, how we got our moon, where our moon came from, how we got the asteroid belt, and all of this. I'm going to really do, I think, a good job of taking us into that, and then I'm going to bring them a little forward into right up to the point where we get to Thoth and some of the architecture and things like that. So it's going to be pretty exciting, I think, for a lot of people who haven't seen some of this information, as well as some of the information, the astronomical and cosmology of the Milky Way galaxy itself. There's so much unknown that I've been able to capture from valid, verified, peer-reviewed science that I want to share with the people there as well.
Man,
that back up the tablets.
I'm going to be there for that. I'm going to do that. What night do you get there?
I'll get there on the last day of the last day of February.
No, you mean the last day of June, July, June.
March. The last day of March. To March to the 31 days of March.
No, May. The last day of May.
May. Okay, May. Yeah, April. I have so many conferences I'm going to.
Yeah, no, it's June 1st through the 4th. Now, see.
Here we go. Okay, I'm looking at it now. I got my calendar. Okay, May 31st is when I get there.
Yeah, you're confusing me. Okay, so
I'm getting lost with all these shows.
Because I know, I'm in the same boat. So Friday night, we broadcast Fade to Black live from the Conscious Life Expo. So I'm formally inviting you to come on and meet the Fadernauts and our audience there at Contact in the Desert. So that's a formal invitation right there.
Man, thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Now, your lecture, what is that going to be on?
The lecture is going to be on proof of life in our solar system. I'm going to show probably maybe 100 or so of the well-documented anomalies that we've discovered through the group that I have, the UFO group, the United Family of Anomaly Hunters. We've downloaded over 1 million images from NASA and the European Space Agency, the Indian Space Agency, the Russian Space Agency, from all the many space probes and rovers that we've had go out into our own solar system. Out of those over 1 million, about 1.2 million, we've got about 57,000 cataloged anomalies now. Things that don't belong where they are or don't appear to belong where they are on that moon or planet in our solar system. And even some of the comets that have come through, we've got some anomalies on the comets as well. So I'm going to show you that, and I'm going to show you some of the images we have that appear to be humanoids. We don't know if they're statues or alive or dead. We don't know what they are because we're not there. But we're going to show you some stuff that is going to blow your mind that anybody can pull up because we're going to also provide the source links. But we've gotten some incredible data that has made international news many times over. Been on many CNN, NBC, Fox. We've been everywhere. They've pulled up our stuff and found it and put it out there. So I'm pretty excited to go out there and show people that you don't have to look 20 light years away, 1 million light years away to find an exoplanet that might potentially have life. We have proof that there was an ancient civilization alive right here in our own solar system, right above our heads. This
is what I'm so fascinated with. When I look at Curiosity and I get into the 360 panoramic shots, right, that you can pan around. Yeah. There is something there, right? It just doesn't look natural. There are, you look around and I'm just like, wait a minute. If I was going across the surface of Mars, I'm walking, right? I've got no food. I need to get somewhere. I can look at the Curiosity rover and find something that I need to walk to. Right? It's a building. There's something there.
There's so much stuff there. It's almost like it's mind-boggling. And it's not Earth. People are saying it's this island. No, the island is where they were testing the Curiosity rover. And some people took those Curiosity rover test images, photoshopped them, and started circling them around online. And, oh, this is a hoax. No, there's 1 million images in the database. They're real images of real another planet. It's real. It's not fake. And there's a lot of anomalies up there, and the evidence of destruction is everywhere on Mars in particular. Mars has been washed over, and most likely it had 2 catastrophes within a several million-year period of time. The first one most likely happened when Tiamat exploded, which is now the asteroid belt.
Right.
And part of Tiamat swung away and became the Earth that we're living on right now, which is why when you go into a coal mine and go down 250 million years, you pull up a vase. I don't think that vase came from a civilization on Earth. I think it came from when we were part of Tiamat. That's another thing I'm going to cover in the lecture as well. And then also, it's just amazing stuff, man. It's just so much. I mean,
that's an interesting take, right?
Yeah,
so
nobody's ever come up with that before.
Right. So the artifacts in the collision. Mm-hmm. Certain stuff was exchanged and was deposited here.
Exactly.
Wow,
there was a 500 million year old vase was discovered in Michigan. I mean, to me, this vase is most likely from the time we were part of Tiamat, before the collision happened of Nibiru smashing it in half and us becoming the Earth and taking the moon along with the moon. Our moon was actually a moon of Tiamat. That's why there's no material from Earth on the moon. The moon is made of helium-3. It's not even an earthly body.
Yeah, done.
Nothing to say that it was part of us.
Well done. And you've also, I heard you talk about Mercury. And, and you stopped me. I know you laugh. I did one of those head slaps, right? I was like, oh man. Go ahead, give everybody your take on Mercury. This is a showstopper right here.
Look, and Mercury is amazing because originally we were told that Mercury was this molten lead planet boiling over, and nothing could survive there and everything else. And then we discovered that from the Mercury mission, which was over the past few years, was up there, that there's organic material on Mercury. But not only is there organic material discovered on Mercury, which had all the scientists baffling their heads. They released it so fast, they couldn't believe they released that information. They almost wanted to pull it back, but it was too late. But that there's billions of tons of water on Mercury.
Now,
billions of tons of water.
How can that be when it's so close to the sun? At least that's what they tell us, right?
Right. Yeah, well, there's a couple of reasons. The first reason is because Mercury rotates extremely slow on its axis, and it's in a retrograde orbit, so it spins in the opposite direction, even though it goes around the sun in the same direction as we do. The axis rotation is opposite of ours. There's counterclockwise rotation, which means, again, more evidence of something happening in the distant past in terms of a body coming through our inner area. But anyway, because it rotates extremely slow on its axis, most of the planet is never in the sunlight. You think it takes 61 days is 61 Earth days is one Mercury day. So you have the majority of the planet in away from the sun, not really taking on the heat. And then you have at the poles, you have ice caps on Mercury, documented now from the Mercury missions. So the Mercury Messenger mission. So now we know that there's ice, and there's also been now discovered other craters all over the planet that have these gigantic swells of water in them. And one of the anomalies that I discovered was an anomaly from this same mission, which I downloaded in HD res, high res, and I said, this looks like it's kind of weird here, like there may be something in this image. So I opened it up and I expanded it, and right away I saw an actual structure on Mercury backed up to one of these crater-looking things that appeared to be, now I can't say it is, but appeared to be full of water. And I discovered that before the Messenger mission scientists released the fact that there was water on Mercury. And I was already saying, I think there's water on Mercury. I think this is like a reservoir for this particular structure. The structure measured, because they give you a measuring tool, about a mile wide. And it had another piece coming up off the surface horizontally that was approximately a mile to 2 miles off the surface. So this is a massive structure which has been on Gaia TV, it's been on the news, it's been everywhere, that's on Mercury, and that most likely is backed up to a reservoir of water. So there could be Mercurians, and ironically, we're talking about Mercury. Guess whose name was Mercury also? Thoth. And guess whose planet it was? It was Thoth's planet.
Right. And this is the one of the most fascinating aspects of it. We could live there, right?
Absolutely.
On
Absolutely.
one of the poles.
The gases, the atmospheric gases, are better than Earth's. There's more oxygen there in terms of breathing. There's carbon, oxygen, argon gases, krypton. Everything you need to just pop your lid off and just take a deep breath is right there on Mercury right now.
Right. And nitrogen. right. So literally, we could live on Mercury. Right?
Exactly. If we can withstand the temperature swings, we can live there with no problem.
Right. All we would have to do is pack up and move every once in a while. But,
right, exactly. Or live underneath the surface like everybody else probably does.
That's mind-blowing. Now, with your photographic, you mentioned Cydonia, but with some of the other stuff that has been floating around on the web for a long time, like these anomalies on the moon and the ziggurat and stuff, do you reference any of those older images that have been floating around? I think they've been distorted so many times over the years that I'm not even sure what the original represents anymore. But
I've gone to some of my own images that I've got. I've got some moon anomalies that I've discovered in one of my other teams, Lunar Anomaly Society, with the UFA group that we've been able to get our hands on. And what I've done now is for myself, I went to some original NASA video footage from the 1970s, excuse me. And I was able to find an image of the limb returning back to the command module. And in that video, I screenshotted it, put it into Photoshop, and took down the contrast, and massive dome structures popped right out. And I found one of the largest, clearest dome structures on the moon that anybody's probably ever found in a long time. So that one I'll be featuring and showcasing there. Some of the structures underneath the dome are approximately 2 miles high. It's massive. Now, and this is why we went to the moon and we lied about it. We went, but we also showed the people a Hollywood show because we couldn't show them gigantic domes on the moon.
Have you showed some of these images to Corey Good?
Not yet. I haven't had a chance to sit down with Corey, even though we've been on, the Gaia Studios. I've never ran into him there. I ran into him at the expo just briefly in passing and shook his hand and kept going, but haven't had a chance to really sit down with him and talk to him.
Yeah, why didn't you come up to me and shake my hand?
I couldn't find you, man. They had me speaking and going, and every 5 feet I walked, people were trying to take pictures with me. I'm not mad. I was happy about that. But it was so hard for me to maneuver around there. It was I was talking to a lot of people. A lot of people really took the time to come out, so I wanted to spend as much time with the people that are really interested in following me as possible,
Yeah, and I can't wait for Contact in the Desert, and it's going to be great. And we have a few, they're listening right now, Contact, so I got to be very careful about what I'm about to say. But we have some pretty cool get-togethers after dark.
Okay,
all right. Okay, and I can't wait. You'll see everybody. All the other researchers, we bring them all together and hang out with the Fadernauts, and so there you go. It's secret, but now everybody knows. So we'll see you there, Billy. Thank you so much for doing this overtime with us. Great conversation. I really look forward to the next time you're on Fade to Black with us. Thank you so much, my friend.
This was great. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're the best, Billy. Keep rolling that rock uphill.
All right, man. Definitely.
Thank you. Now, again, Billy, thank you so much. All of Billy's stuff is over at jimmychurchradio.com. You can go and click, again, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and, of course, forbiddenknowledge.com. His network, his audience, and what he has put together is, I hate to say this, but it's ginormous. It's because his information is just so groundbreaking and so spot on. And, man, you know what? This call has been coming in all night. I just lost it. I was going to bring in one last caller. but I cleared out the phone lines, and there you go. All right, so again, let's do this. Tomorrow night is my AMA, and it is Ask Me. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to do, I just want to see who this is. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Last call of the night. Who's calling?
Jimmy?
Yes.
Hey, this is Jeremy. I wanted to catch Billy because I had a question for him. Anytime I hear anybody mention anything off planet now, I just think of Gary McKinnon.
Right.
And I always wonder what people think of his story in Revelation.
Oh, man, Gary McKinnon, you know what? I'll tell you something, Jeremy. This is the truth. A couple of years ago, Rita and I flew to New York to shoot for History Channel for our new series, right? And I was hanging out at the Hope Convention, which is the hackers, it's hackers on planet Earth, right? The Hope Conference. And all of the folks that I spoke to, different hackers and Anonymous and Greg Hausch, I could go on and on. All of them, they may not be ufologists, right? Or part of the alien conversations that we have here. But every single hacker that I talked to, black hat, white hat, government, this, that, every single one, held Gary McKinnon at the highest of the highest regard. His respect that he has in that community was mind-blowing. And they all absolutely said, yes, he did it. He pulled it off. He got into those files. We know what he did, and absolutely. So I'm going to tell you right now, I've always respected Gary. I think he's remarkable. He saw what he saw. Because of his tenacity and his fundamental way of getting into these systems, all he was doing was looking for people that didn't change their password, right? So all he had to do was go in and punch in admin. And so he got a little piece of code together that would go and search computers that used admin for a password, and he went in and was granted access to some of these files. How smart, how brilliant is that, right? As simple as it is.
Yeah, and the revelations, in my opinion, I think his story or what he did and what he found is a game changer. It's a story of our lifetime.
That's right.
And because it shatters so much, and I think that what fuels that he actually did stumble upon something is maybe in next week or something, if you have some time, find that clip of President Obama and Prime Minister Cameron at a joint news conference, and a reporter from the UK gets up and asks about McKinnon's extradition, right. And both Obama and Cameron look at each other, and when I saw that moment, I went, my God, it was true. They both know who he is, and they're both wondering how to handle this question. So I knew.
Yeah, that's right. I talked about that moment many, many, many times on this show. And,
you did? Okay.
Oh, yeah. And that's where, and I've got to wrap the show here, Jeremy. So I'm going to say thank you before I have to say goodnight. But it's this. When you have a guy talking about disclosure and UFOs and what he saw in NASA computers in files that were called UFO, right? And you've got two countries at the very, very top fighting over this guy, that means it was real. If it wasn't, if it wasn't, we would have never heard his name. Right? So, you're absolutely right, Jeremy, and thank you for pointing that out. And have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow night right here on Fade to Black.
All right, man. Be well.
Have a good night. And tomorrow night, I got to get out of here. Tomorrow night is my AMA. It's going to be simulcast on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and everything else that we can feed to with all of our other syndication partners. So get ready for that tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I got to thank Billy Carson. That was one of the great conversations that I expected tonight for you, the Fadernauts. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. Show's produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster, Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Faded Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2018 by Faded Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be used, written, downloaded, copied, or rebroadcast anywhere without written permission from Faded Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Until tomorrow night, my AMA. Everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.